Anti-derivative Jill.
Greetings and felicitations.
Hello, I am Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations, number 71. Today we're reviewing the next original series episode of Star Trek in production order, and today it's all about obsession. So today Pop Culture Curator is here. We're so happy he could make it today.
Oh, so am I. Believe me, the alternative is not something that I look forward to. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I really missed last week, the Game Shows with Triskelion, but I'm going to enjoy myself. This is great. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I want to make sure everyone remembers to click the bell for his channel because he's going to be reviewing Metropolis tonight.
Oh yeah.
Which should be a fantastic journey into sci-fi film history. And also, Scotty R37 might be here later. He's suddenly got to help with family, and of course, family comes first every time.
Oh yeah.
And also, we're also expecting Hungry Boy to show up today as well. Oh,
so
and
Boy,
yeah,
if you're listening, join us.
And speaking of Scotty, I had remembered the poll, but I didn't get around to actually posting it. So yes, I do need to post the poll. Thank you for that,
Okay.
Scotty. He's in the chat reminding me to do that.
Cool.
And so I'm going to make the poll right here, and I'm just so glad all of you are here to ready to get obsessed with obsession.
Yeah, the show was really every episode. I mean, it was really firing on all cylinders here at this point. So it's definitely no disappointment.
Am I to understand this? I thought that Bread and Circuses was the last time, but is this actually the last time we get help from Gino Kun this episode?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm thinking it is because
he is involved in this episode, but I'm not sure if it's the last time. I have to look more into that.
Yeah, I have a feeling it is.
Sad
not
to
100%.
Say.
Yeah, no, it is sad, but it's important to mention if true. And also something to say as I post the poll. And so I have.
So everybody out there, if you're listening, please, if you get a chance, vote in the poll and give us your grade, what you think about this episode.
Yeah, if you already know what you think about it, please do. And I want to say hello to Franco Walker, Pleasant Valley Picker. He says, one of my favorite episodes. It's an A+, and it's the only episode where a red shirt is fully developed and an interesting character. Yeah, he is. He's a great character.
Yes.
By the way, his internet came back after 14 hours. I'm so glad, and I hope it stays on for the next at least 14 days.
Yeah, definitely, hopefully.
And so, yeah, Metropolis tonight. Hope to see ya. Mark Harkness says, trivia. The captain in the fan films Star Trek Starship Exeter, which takes place roughly during what would have been TOS Season 4, is John Quincy Garrovick, nephew of Kirk's former captain.
Cool.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is pretty awesome. And that makes sense. This Ensign Garrovick definitely feels like he is a bit like Kirk in some ways, and that is intentional, I believe. And hello to Lemon Pie.
Hello, Lemon Pie. Good to see you. Glad you're here.
And also Captain Fandom Nerd.
Hey, Captain.
Hello to Princess Fiona.
Hello,
Oh,
Princess Fiona.
no longer Princess Pans on or off. Hey, y'all. Hungry Boy is here. Did he bring the Clawbony? We shouldn't need it here. Yeah, no, he doesn't need to. That's parked back. It's already parked for Saturday Night Star Trek. We don't know if we're gonna. I haven't seen the Voyager episodes for this Saturday yet to know whether or not we're gonna need it this week. But it's
What
more
is a
likely needed.
Clawbony?
Mhm.
What is a Clawbony?
Oh, the Clawbony. Okay, so if you're a regular listener for Saturday Night Star Trek, anytime there is an episode that is maybe F range level and really, really poorly done, then the Clawbony is brought out to clean up the mess before we move on to the next episode.
Gotcha.
On Saturday Night Star Trek and at 9 p.m. Central on the Clobbering Times channel. Gorilla's Random Thoughts says Kapla lurking got busy.
Hey, Gorilla.
Yeah, hello, Gorilla. Glad you were able to listen. Scotty R37 reminded me about the poll. Thank you. Princess Fiona says, not used to seeing my name in gray.
Also, everybody, please, if you get the chance, hit the like button if you enjoyed this stream. Jill deserves it. And if you haven't done so already, please sub to her channel.
Yes, please. Thank you. And she also says his last script was Metamorphosis. Oh, okay. Well, that was the last script he wrote, but I think on this one he did a final draft. He did a final draft on this episode.
Which makes sense.
Wes Cagle says, "Hail all! Sorry I'm late. No, you're just in time. Just in time. We barely started." And so, for reference to production, some of the facts I share comes from Star Trek 365. Oh, hey, man! I thought I was gonna have to wait a while to see him, but he's here. Hello to Scotty R37.
Hey, Scotty.
Ahoy, everyone. Hey, Pop. Hey,
Good
Jill.
to see you.
Ahoy, chat.
I'm so glad to see you so early. I was prepping myself to wait a while for you.
I am happy to disappoint.
Yeah,
Hello, Darius. Good to see you.
Yeah, hello, Darius, and hello to Dadman Walking. Good afternoon.
Hello,
I'll
Dadman
be
Walking.
lurking at work. I'm so glad that you guys can listen during your work. Anyone who gets to lurk, I definitely appreciate you being here, even though some people are very busy, cannot engage too much in the chat, and that is perfectly awesome. But as I was saying, I will be reading from Star Trek 365, the original series by Paul M. Block and Terry J. Erdman, as seen on the original series reviews on the Clobbering Times channel with Raquel Briggs. And I already mentioned Saturday Night Star Trek, so with that said, let's check out Obsession.
Okie dokie.
And so, before I begin with the slides, I'll give away the basic summary so no one has to worry about giving spoilers. Even though I'm going scene by scene, I don't mind if we go out of order, if there's something you really want to mention at any moment. And hello to Franco Walker.
Hello, Franco. Good to see you there.
You are
Welcome.
not late. Everybody's just in time. Anybody just coming in, you're
Right,
on
everyone's still saying hello, so nobody's late at this point.
Yeah. So the book says, oh, it has a quote first. This is a good quote. Spock says, "I need your advice." And McCoy says, "Then I need a drink." The reappearance of a deadly cloud-like creature that Kirk encountered while he was a lieutenant on the USS Farragut triggers within him an obsession that alarms Spock and McCoy. 11 years ago, the creature killed half of the Farragut's crew, including Garvik, the ship's captain. Kirk has always believed that if he hadn't hesitated in firing at the creature, he could have saved the lives of all who perished. Now, one of Kirk's crewmen on the Enterprise, ironically the son of Captain Garvik, has inadvertently committed the same sin as Kirk. He froze at the precise moment when he should have fired on the cloud. Kirk blames Garvik for the deaths that ensued. He relieves the young officer from duty and sets out to destroy the creature. This time, he promises himself it won't get away.
Perfect.
Yeah,
This
and
is our Star Trek Moby Dick episode.
yeah, it first aired on December 15th, 1967, written by Art Wallace and directed by Ralph Sinensky. About this episode, director Ralph Sinensky says, "I realized from day one that it was a transferring of the Captain Ahab Moby Dick battle from the ocean to outer space. But the script was more than the novel's struggle between a man and a big whale. It was a mystery story. If not a whodunit, what is it? And it was more beyond that. It was a deep penetration into Kirk's psyche, his inner struggle to overcome guilt for his actions from a past incident." Oh, pure tritanium. Okay, so they found tritanium, which is 21.4 times as hard as diamond. But we quickly forget about that because we run into the cloud.
Well, and isn't it once they identify the vein of tritanium, and Kirk calls up to the Enterprise, Scotty's like, "Okay, we'll let a ship know. They'll be on their way as quickly as possible." Never referred to again, but it is also sort of part of the reason that Kirk is like, "Well, we better kill this thing first."
Yeah, that's right, because someone else is coming for this resource. This very valuable resource is going to be mined, and if this creature is still here, that ship will also be in danger if Kirk does nothing. At the very least, just that ship. At this point, Kirk himself doesn't really understand the magnitude of what a big threat this thing is.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because the dicronium cloud is also almost with a throwaway line of dialogue. It's going to reproduce into thousands of smaller dicronium clouds. So it's almost like you have miners and you have a creature. It's almost like Devil in the Dark, but instead
Makes
of
sense.
instead of the Horda, you have a malicious vampire.
That goes from planet to planet, interstellar travel.
Right, it can survive and not only survive in space, but travel at speeds faster than the Enterprise, which is wild. Very interesting conceit idea for the creature being both between matter and energy.
Yeah, and it's great that it establishes that it doesn't have to be a solid form in order to be intelligent.
Yeah, and it is interesting to note also that the director for this episode, Ralph Sinensky, also directed Metamorphosis, which was about another cloud creature, more benevolent but just misguided.
Yes.
And hello to Canadian Spider-Man.
Hey, Spidey, good to see you. Glad you could join us last night, Spidey.
Mark Harkness says, "Moby Dick on the surface, however, like paranoia, it's not the same. If there really is a blood-sucking vampire cloud out to kill you." Yeah. This is Ahab if Ahab was actually correct. So.
Not only do we have a red shirt, but we have a red shirt with red hair. So we know he's definitely not long for this world.
Yeah.
This red shirt already died in a previous episode, right? Which one was that?
Eddie Paskey, Mr. Leslie dies here again.
No. For the first time, Leslie dies. But
okay.
Whoever plays Rizzo died in Arena.
Right, Rizzo. That's the redhead. Yes.
Oh, right. I forgot he died in Arena. I was wondering why he looked so familiar.
And so Rizzo's who plays Rizzo?
Ratso Rizzo.
Rizzo is played by Jerry.
Ginger McIrish. Jerry Ayres. Yeah.
Yeah. So he colored his hair lighter so that he looks like someone different.
But we recognized him anyway.
Princess Fiona says Mark Crushman wrote that Kuhn contributed uncredited rewrites for the second half of season 2. Kuhn also contributed some scripts to season 3 under the pen name Lee Cronin. Oh, that's great that he keeps a hand on the series for a much longer time than I thought. Thank you so much, Princess Fiona. I'll have
Yeah, I have a question for Princess Fiona. Mark Cushman, he's the one that wrote that Lost in Space series books that I've been reading, and I've mentioned that he also wrote books talking about Star Trek. So, Princess, have you seen those books? Have you read them?
And okay, so for the very first production title of the episode was Space Moby Dick. So Gene knew he wanted a story like this. And so Art Wallace takes the idea, Gene Roddenberry's story idea, and fleshes it out into a full story, with the final draft done by Gene L. Kuhn. And so I'm happy to hear from Fiona that this isn't the last time that Gene L. Kuhn does something for Star Trek. That is good, but he just uses a different name or goes uncredited. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for that.
Dadman says, cloud creatures like Galactus in Fantastic Four? Laugh out loud. Okay, sorry, I'll crawl back in my hole. No, yeah. And as sort of an apologist for the Fantastic Four movies, I would have to say that the dicronium creature is far more threatening than
I agree to that. Yes, that
Galactus Cloud.
Yeah, that was horrible.
You see, Dad, man, you've got friends in that hole with you.
Yeah.
Fox really dropped the ball on that.
Darius says Rizzo's a funny name, but a real name.
I just keep thinking of the Muppet.
I think of Ratso Rizzo from Midnight Cowboy.
Fair enough.
Dustin Hoffman.
What does this mean? The non-cons were very Irish on the ship.
Non-commissioned officers? Is it non-cons?
Oh, non-commissions. Okay, thank you.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
I'm surmising.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, no, that makes sense to me. Mark Harkness says this is why red shirts will beat stormtroopers. Mr. Leslie will always come back, but nothing fixes stormtroopering. Yeah, we never know how Leslie comes back. He just does.
He gets better, I guess.
According to Eddie Paskey, there was a scene in the script that says that he was revived, but it was never shot. Oh,
right. Some magic potion.
Mm-hmm. Con blood. No, wait.
Oh, wait. That was inspiration for that, probably.
Wrong timeline. Hey, Franco.
Princess Fiona says his fingerprints remains all over the show for the best. Absolutely. I was unsure about his contributions after this point, and so it feels like he's leaving, but I'm glad he's not completely gone. Tyron Lethbridge. Hello. Hey, Tyron.
Hey, Tyron. Good to see you.
Good day, people. I think I accidentally gave the poll a C. I don't even know what it was for. How is everyone today? Yeah, that is okay. That's fine. But it was for this episode Obsession, and I'm doing pretty well. Hope you are as well. Hello to Rennie, also.
What?
What?
Rennie's here?
Well, Tyron is here, and Tyron is married to Rennie.
Oh, well then, yeah.
So
best regards to Rennie.
Small world.
And to you as well, Tyron.
Yama's Queen Jess, hey. Red shirts and life are incompatible with each other, except for Leslie.
Or Scotty. That's why I get to wear red.
Or Uhura.
Or Uhura.
Well, red skirts in general have a better time in overall, thanks to the censors.
Yes.
Princess Fiona says those FF movies were not that bad, and by today's standards, they border on masterpiece.
Remind yourself, they were directed by the director of Barbershop. Okay, enough said.
Well, I think I honestly,
I thought Barbershop was funny.
In terms,
I know, but it's not Fantastic Four. That's my point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I don't know what made them think. You know that guy, the Barbershop. Yeah, let's have him be Fantastic Four. I was like, well, who? I don't know who. I never figured it out. All these years later, I still don't know.
Yeah, but the guy who directed Bring It On directed Ant-Man, and that didn't turn out that bad.
Oh, the director of Ant-Man, that's Adam Wright. He's actually pretty good.
Peyton
He's got a
Reed.
lot of things under his belt.
Peyton
In
Reed
fact, he
directed
was.
Ant-Man.
Well, what's funny is he was the one that was originally in line to direct the original Fantastic Four, taking place in the '60s, and Fox turned him down for the guy that did Barbershop.
True story. But I am also, as I mentioned, I'm the early 2000s Fantastic Four apologist. I do enjoy them, but there are things about them that are just like, no. They're sea level. They're sea level, but they make me giggle. And Michael Chiklis is an amazing thing.
I'm glad you could enjoy something about it.
Thank you.
I want to say hello to Snortopoopus, Cuber.
Hello, Snortopoopus.
And also...
That's a name I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. Franco Walker says, I gave this episode a B. And the AI show says Obsession, the new fragrance by the Federation. Yeah, it smells funny.
Yeah, that stuff is expensive. I purchased it before. Even still now, it's expensive. It's a expensive fragrance.
And Yamas gives it a C, the episode. And so Gene Roddenberry took the final draft and revised it again. And then finally, there were also some revisions to the script done by John Meredith Lucas. And this is pivotal because as Gino Kuhn was officially stepping out, but fortunately he's still hanging around somewhere, John Meredith Lucas is stepping in as producer. And since the filming took place during the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur on Friday the 13th, October...
Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
It's okay.
Yom Kippur. On Friday the 13th, October 1967, Sinensky left the set at sundown and John Meredith Lucas directed for the other half of the day. So this episode is the first time he's done directing work for Star Trek. So it's a big day for John.
I think when they switched out directors, it was similar to how we mentioned with Lost in Space. Once you had the cast and crew that are familiar with everything, it really helps the directors blend in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we got our sweet odor and our scanning of the dicronium.
Dicronium? I'm not sure if it's spelled right.
Dichoronium.
Yeah, I don't know if it's spelled correctly in the subtitles.
Well, I guess they just wanted to stick the word iron in the middle and then confuse everybody onto the pronunciation of this word.
Right. Fancy iron.
Well, and another thing that is sort of brought up through the episode, it's like dichironium is only present in laboratory tests, Spock says. And it's like, but then as they go forth in the episode, they're like, what about that mysterious element? So, I don't know.
What about that mysterious element? Do you know something about it?
Well, it's just that Spock says this is man-made.
Man-made or Vulcan-made? Who made it?
Well, scientifically created in a lab as opposed to not being reproduced or originating in nature. Mm-hmm. And so it's a strange creature. I don't even think it's dichironium because it does have the ability to, alter its molecular structure at will. Yeah, and a lot of the things on the periodic table that are created in the lab don't have very long half-lives. And this thing seems to have been around for at least 11 years. Snortopoopus asks, does Obsession smell like a fine blend of seaweed and seal guts? I thought it was going to be honey.
Honey?
Yeah.
And saffron with just a hint of lilac.
Princess Fiona says the 2000 FF or more FF than Doctor Strange was Doctor Strange. They are enjoyable and rewatchable, which is more than I can say for Marvel movies since Endgame. I couldn't get through most of them once.
On your side, Princess.
I agree with that.
And subscribe to Pop Culture Curator. Check out Metropolis tonight.
Oh, thank you.
And she says, there's a finite amount of elements, and we know all of the ones that last more than an infinitesimal amount of time. Mm-hmm.
I really appreciated the introduction of the gas cloud in terms of how they did the special effects practically, like sort of creeping out behind the rocks. They obviously released like dry ice or something, shot
And
off
reversed it.
yeah, and then they reverse it, and they do that a couple of times, and it was always convincing to me. And then it obviously goes to the animated version, sort of looking like the creature from Metamorphosis.
Yes, very similar. Until we get to the space scenes, then it's completely remastered.
Now, did you guys watch the original special effects or the remastered special?
I watched the remaster. How about you guys?
Remaster for me too. So at the end, I'll look at the comparisons so we can see the cloud creature as originally created.
Okay.
And this episode also reveals that our Phaser 2s have a disruptor setting called Disruptor B.
Disruptor B.
We learn about that. And they encounter the cloud, and there's something in the book about it. It says, most of the memorable creatures from early movies and television, from Creature from the Black Lagoon to Godzilla, sported 2 arms, 2 legs, and a zipper down the back. And that's the way it remained until the digital age made it easier to construct alien creatures via computer graphics. But even back in the day, Star Trek contracted with several effects studios, among them Van der Veer Photo Effects, the Howard A. Anderson Company, the Westheimer Company, and Cinema Research. And the show also had on staff Jim Rugg, a very inventive physical effects man. Thus, on occasion, the producers were able to think outside the zipper for the alien of the week. An obsession, a smoke-making machine hidden behind the rocks, teased the viewers into thinking there was more going on than there was, as did simple process shots created by layering footage of smoke and sparkles over the animation. In the end, however, it wasn't the visual image that sold the dicronium cloud creature, but something that triggered a different sense. Do you smell that? Kirk asks, ostensibly of his crew, but of the viewer as well. A sweet odor, like honey. A thing with an odor like that. And when the dying security officer Rizzo whispers, a smell, a strange smell, it was like being smothered in honey. The viewer has little choice but to imagine he smells it too. This particular creature was fleshed out with dialogue. There wouldn't be a more effective depiction of odor on the small screen until the Food Network came into existence some 30 years later. And there's that. That's from the block text. And so they lose contact with the team.
It is kind of a repetitive description that keeps coming up. It's like, do you smell that? Sickly sweet, like honey. And they say it like 4 times. And I'm like, yes, we know what it smells like, guys.
But another effect.
Spock doesn't seem to notice too much.
Which is strange, because later on in Enterprise, they talk about how T'Pol has a more acute olfactory sense.
Yeah, you would think.
But
Spock did say that this is harvest season, and things were growing on that side of the planet where they were at. So maybe Spock was just not really understanding completely what Kirk was saying.
Yeah, he doesn't have emotional responses to things, so he just thinks of it as just another smell from like if he has a rational reason for something strange, then he takes that rational reason.
Yes, sort of just a waft of the growing season that it was like, no, it's always smelled pretty sweet here, Jim.
And another effect from this cloud is every red blood corpuscle has been drained from their bodies.
Princess Fiona says, the air is the air. What can be done?
Yeah, that's what Spock says.
Well, no, but quoting from T'Pau as well. Good call, Princess Fiona. Mm-hmm. And ahoy to you, Miss Queen Jess.
Definitely. And Princess Fiona says, barring any changes in the laws of physics, when they see elements, I just hear it as molecules, of which there are an infinite variety. Of course, yes, it's definitely more like a mixture of the elements. Makes sense. Snortopoopus Cuber says, I hypothesize that some elements are actually analogs of classic elements that exist in 4 dimensions. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Oh.
Well, in Pupus, that makes sense because one of the reasons that dilithium has been hypothesized to sort of make the matter-antimatter reaction work so well is because dilithium does exist in the 4th dimension. It exists partially in subspace. If subspace and the 4th dimension are the same thing, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Damn it, Spock.
And so Mark Harkness says, has a question. Oh, do thank Captain Kirk for cleaning up that little dichronium lab accident we had. Actually, looks up, you had. I told you it was going to be trouble.
Oh no. Are you saying that dichironium was manufactured in a lab? Was there gain of function on dichironium?
I don't know, but we have a captain's log, and I thought I had it here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to put that in the private chat. If you can read it for me, Scotty.
Captain's log, stardate 3619.2. With the mysterious death of 2 crewmen, all personnel on the planet have been evacuated back to the ship.
The AI show says Disruptor B sounds like the name of a rapper.
Apparently, this is the only episode that mentions the phasers having a disruptor setting.
I was thinking of a designer drug. I think we both know where each other's heads are at. And Eugene Bird is here. Great to see you.
Hello, Eugene Bird.
And Snorpoopoo says, I think Spock can't smell anything because of the Vicks vapor rub he uses to cover up the smell of the humans.
Humans.
Oh, that's a good explanation. If I wanted to get snooty, I would tell you that everything exists in the 4th dimension. Time. Oh, yeah. No, that's not snooty. That's just facts. Hello, Cardinal Sin.
Ahoy.
How are you
Hello
doing?
there.
And so Rizzo is sent is as the only survivor. He's sent for treatment. Of course, we will see Leslie later, like we mentioned earlier. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. This isn't the first time we've seen this lab.
No, it's not. I remember seeing this before.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy the expansion of the sets and everything. Like as we go through, there's more and more of the ship that gets opened up. We haven't seen phaser control, but or auxiliary engineering.
Yeah, they were building sets as they were adding to the series for the episodes.
Yeah,
and they combined everything.
This room was in Journey to Babel.
Oh, that makes sense.
Wasn't it also in Mirror Mirror? Isn't this where they fought Spock?
Oh, that's where McCoy gets the mind meld from Evil Spock. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good call.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, he gets So the autopsy of the deceased crew shows that all the red blood cells have been drained without any marks or cuts or anything. And Kirk wants McCoy to listen to the tapes of the USS Farragut, which lists the casualties 11 years earlier. And so I really like this because Kirk actually knows what he thinks is going on. He has these he has these suppositions, but he's trying to get his crew to catch up with him rather than give his anecdotal experience right away.
Right, he's a step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But it also does come up later in the episode, and it's like, all right, you've given us the tapes, and it kind of explains where you're coming from, but you're not really being forthcoming.
Yeah, no, he's not. And the main drama of this episode is that they're supposed to get this medicine or this vaccine from the USS Yorktown for which planet? Some planet. Beta 7. And so that's our time clock. We have a time clock in which it amplifies the obsession that Kirk has with catching this cloud creature, because we have this very important vaccine that'll save a lot of lives that is being put in the balance by this side quest.
Now, how do you feel about Kirk's side quest? Because no one is sort of on side. They either think it's a natural phenomena, or like they don't believe it to be malicious.
They don't know that it's a creature, but he has always felt that there was an intelligence to it, even though he doesn't really have any kind of proof. He just has a feeling. So maybe there was some kind of telepathic communication that we don't really know of. It's only hinted at.
And it does speak to sort of contact with the creature is how you would be able to sort of surmise that there was intelligence. But if you come in contact with the creature, then you're dead if you have red corpuscles.
Right. So if you have green ones, you should be okay.
Yes. It likes iron, not copper.
Yeah, this is apparently the episode where we learn that Spock has copper blood, and I didn't realize that because it just feels like a fact that I've always known about Spock. So it's interesting to see where it came from.
Maybe that explains the reference to chromium earlier. Oops, sorry.
Red alert.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, and it's interesting because, again, I watched this episode for the first time when it was in reruns, which would have been around the same time that they did the big mid-1980s restoration of the Statue of Liberty. And when I found out that the Statue of Liberty was primarily made of copper, I think, I was like, then why is it green? Because pennies, they're brown. And then I found out that oxidization on copper does make it green. And
exactly.
So I was taken aback by learning something from science through Commander Spock yet again. It was a great revelation, and once again reinforces that everything I learned from television.
And that's true. The Statue of Liberty was the color of a penny when it was first created. And let me see where I am. I'm looking to see where I am in the chat.
Yes.
Here I am. Mark Harkness says, call out to the novel Crisis on Centaurus. It shows Jim Kirk having purchased a plot of land on the planet Centaurus, which he named Garvik Valley, with the Farragut River running through it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That's a good callback. Princess Fiona says, the fourth dimension, classically, would be expressed as time in the space-time continuum, whereas subspace is a layer underneath normal space where faster than light travel is possible. Thank you, Princess Fiona.
I wouldn't presume to debate you.
And no, that's exactly what I think it is too. So that makes sense. Typically, subspace's location cannot be expressed using the space-time dimensions. It's more like a permanent warp bubble that lives inside normal space. And Franco Walker says, Princess Fiona, I didn't realize you were writing a dissertation.
Well, the conversation about Star Trek is why we're here. I enjoy exploring this.
Right. And the only reason I didn't respond earlier is because the nature of subspace is very interesting to me, and I don't fully understand it myself. But I do know that if we were in the fourth spatial dimension, then we would experience you'd have to take up, down, left, right, all at right angles. If you figure out what direction taking all those directions at right angles are, then you'll have your fourth dimension. And if someone from the fourth dimension would look at you, you would look inside out, and they could only they can only present themselves to us in slices of 3 dimensions.
Well, and as we go back to Rizzo in sickbay,
Do.
This is the Moby Dick story of the original series, and I think that it is hammered over our heads incredibly that First Contact is Picard's white whale.
That's right.
This one is so much more sort of parallel and subtle, and it's not hammered over your head. Like if you were to compare First Contact and Obsession, which story do you prefer?
Well, this one first. Actually, honestly, I love every time Star Trek gets into Moby Dick. It works so well because of the naval aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is, I think this one is superior for sure. And
I'm with you. Because it's obvious, it's apparent for anybody who is familiar with the Moby Dick story, but this one doesn't sort of smack you in the face with its Melville.
Yeah. And with Rizzo, he's shot with codrazine, which we remember from City on the Edge of Forever.
Assassins!
And so it's kind of a dangerous drug to be using. But McCoy says it wouldn't make a difference anyway, which tells us that Rizzo is not long for the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the part of the reason why I bring it up is because when Ensign Lynch gets assimilated in First Contact, Picard kills him, whereas Kirk is attempting to rescue everyone and save everyone from his, demon from the past, his white whale. I don't often get into a Kirk versus Picard debate, but
this is your first one, so I didn't even consider Picard and his Borg, and Kirk and his cloud,
vampire cloud.
I was trying to draw strength from. Yeah, it's definitely a vampire, definitely. It
Well,
wants the red corpuscles, so you're not wrong.
I don't even know what a corpuscle is.
You want to know?
Sean Carter. But yeah,
a corpuscle is an unattached body cell. It's just the blood or the lymph cells.
Blood?
So yeah. It just means it's been separated from you.
Well, and even because Kirk does come in contact with the vampire cloud, or 11 years ago he did, and now there is even a moment where later on Kirk is like, I could sense something, I don't know how, but I could hear it, and it said home, which is kind of similar to Picard being like in the Borg battle. And it's like, I can hear them.
That's actually the only parallel I made, because it made no sense that Picard could sense the Borg when he'd been disconnected from long ago. So there was some kind of weird telepathy happening between Picard and the Borg that made absolutely no sense. And please do not mention people who tried to make sense of it. But also the same thing happens here with Kirk. And Spock is our guy who is telepathic here, and yet it is Kirk who has the premonition, the feeling of this creature.
Well, and for some reason, I thought that when Spock is sort of trying to block the ventilation mesh in Garavic's quarters, I thought that would have been sort of the kickoff to, I had a chance to meld with it, but they never mention it. Like, they never mention Spock telepathically linking with the creature. He just surmises its intelligence based on its tactics.
I didn't think of that he could have done a mind meld there.
Well, you do have to prepare yourself. Like, you can't just willy-nilly start touching things and then absorbing thoughts and minds.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, it was trying to absorb Spock, but then it was like, oh, nope.
Nope. You taste like mangoes and coconut. I apologize to everyone in the audience who enjoys mangoes and coconut, but I think they taste like Vulcan blood.
Oh, and of course Rizzo's dead. And so we
Oh.
get Ensign Garovic. with
Gary
his radio.
Garovic.
Yeah, Gary.
Okay.
You good, bud?
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry, it's my
there he
doctor
is.
on the phone.
Oh no, fair enough. Just you're in a situation where if I start hearing alarms, it's like, we got a code red. Get the crash cart.
No, overall, I'm doing better, so it's good news. So yeah,
Good.
They were just going over my future appointments.
Cool.
Oh my God. Okay, good. I was worried about that too, and so my feelings echo what Scotty was saying.
I don't mean to
glad that
baby
was
you.
that was just a phone call.
Good.
Phew. And I am glad you're feeling better too. That is good.
So am I. Thank you. I have a little more of a voice now.
And that
you sound great.
And that your
Thank
treatments won't be too frequent.
No, the radiation's done. I'll just have chemo every 3 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
So far so good.
Yeah, great. Oh, also James Caserta, while we were talking, has arrived, as well as Euler Greg, a base
Hello,
of maneuvering.
Hello, James. Hello, Ola Greg.
And Princess Fiona says a parallel dimension with different laws of physics rather than the fourth dimension. It's all theoretical, but sub-ether, and we really don't do ether anymore. Though there is a new thing. Ooh, Princess Fiona is really, really knowledgeable about theoretical physics. I really love it. I know you knew me better than that by now, she says to Frank Walker. But the weird thing is that there's a critter on Earth with copper-based blood, and its blood is blue. All hail the horseshoe crab.
Very cool.
Sorry about that. There. Scotty, could you read this one for me?
Okay. Oh, I'm going to grab something to drink. I'll be right back.
Mark Harkness says, they showed us the Intrepid in the remastered episode Court Martial, remastering the Yorktown Rendezvous with the Enterprise at the end of Obsession. Would have been a nice touch. Oh, that would have been nice. I would have loved to see that. To see the completion of the mission, but I guess we just assume that occurs. Like after this happens, they definitely do that. Or the Greg says, it's not a parallel dimension, but a dimension spawned from our dimension. And a quantum entanglement, continues William Greg. That's because while hemocyanin contains copper, hemocyanin contains copper. The protein itself is blue. Oh, that's why the horseshoe crab is blue instead of green. And oh, hey, Euler Greg is going hunting. Hunting Euler Greg goes. Have a great time. Euler Greg says, awesome episode and fantastic stream. Good job, Joe. Thank you, Euler Greg. You're so cool. And hello to Sean Carter. Snarlpoopus Cuber says, and Klingons have to stop eating raspberry sherbet because it was turning their blood weird shades of pink. Yeah, they really should. Oh, I thought that was from the Pepto-Bismol. But strawberry sherbet, that works too. Copper is a less efficient oxidizer than iron, so it's weird that Vulcan air is thinner. Vulcans must have more or bigger blood cells. Oh, interesting proposition. Snarlpoopus says they had weird-looking blood in Star Trek VI. Klingon blood never had the color before or since. And Tyron says, that's so funny to Princess Fiona. That's something I would say, and Rennie would pretend to take me seriously. Snarlpoopus says, subspaces created by bombarding cherry cheesecake with unobtainium radiation. Oh, great. Thank you, Snarlpoopus. I definitely needed to know how to how to access subspace. Thanks to Snortopoopa's Cuber, we realize all you need is cheesecake. And Captain Kirk, we find out, graduated the academy with.
You mean Garvik?
Garvik? Yeah. Right.
Right. Garvik graduated with Rizzo.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so I was a little mixed up there because
he has a personal stake in it.
Right, because
it was his friend.
Captain Garvik was Kirk's captain for a while and mentor.
Right, but Rizzo, the red shirt that died in his sickbay, was Ensign Garvik's friend, so that's why he has a personal stake in it.
Mm-hmm.
You probably already said that. If you did, I apologize.
No, it was perfect. No, well said, well timed, all good. And so they're going to encounter the creature again.
I'm glad they didn't redo the effects for here. I'm glad they kept the original.
Oh, this is the original. It looks great to me. I wouldn't even know the difference.
It does, and this shot right here is one of the very few shots in Star Trek of phaser fire that has a black border around it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it does, doesn't it? I didn't even think about that.
Maybe that's a disruptor B say.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Different setting. Makes sense. And so this is the point of the episode that will parallel the events that happened to Captain Kirk 11 years ago.
How many times in this episode do we see a bunch of red shirts laying on the ground?
Well, that raises the stakes. All of the death that this creature causes, it saps the blood from all of these red shirts, and it shows how terrifying it is. And the terror just amplifies until we find out finally that 200 people on the Farragut died because of this thing. Even worse than what happens to the Enterprise crew during this adventure.
Yes.
And so I think that is a good increasing of the awfulness of what's going on. And so Kirk knows it's intelligent, but Spock and McCoy are not quite up to speed with him just yet.
Or convinced, right?
And this is the part where Kirk dresses down Garvik for hesitating before firing at the creature. He misses the creature, and
what he's doing is he's projecting his own guilt onto Garvik.
Exactly, because the exact thing happened to Kirk 11 years ago.
And you can tell he's thinking about that as he does it. So he's kind of hard on him, yet he's not. So he's just confined to quarters.
Yes. It's not like he puts him in the brig, but he definitely is hard on him.
Well, and Kirk's rationale behind it, he hesitated, and it caused the death of a crewmate.
Crew, or just one.
Well, one is still having a transfusion. We don't know if they die.
They probably do.
They probably do.
Okay, so we have another captain's log here. Pop culture curator, could you read the next one?
Thank you, sure. Captain's log, stardate 3619.6. One of the men in critical condition, the other is dead. I am now even more convinced that this is not only an intelligent creature, but the same which decimated the crew of the USS Farragut 11 years ago in another part of the galaxy. Both Spock and McCoy are doubtful of this, and I sense they also doubt my decision to stay and fight the thing. Why am I keeping this ship here? So this is the second episode in a row where they're doubting Kirk.
The last one was the Deadly Years, yes?
I'm guessing in the notes it says the second in a row, but it may have been broadcast order.
I think so. But still, perhaps he was still suffering from the aging.
Well, and it shows that he's not perfect. I like it, the fact that they question him.
Yes.
That makes it more believable. Really fleshes out the characters because nobody's perfect, you know. And not only that, you know, if he is at Captain Ahab, they would obviously be doubting his sanity.
Well, and not only that, but it's not an emotional confrontation. It's not an emotional confrontation between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. It's a regulation confrontation, which
Yes,
again, people doing their jobs, and even Kirk says you've acted accordingly.
yep.
Yeah, they never doubt his sanity, just that he's obsessed. He's fixated. He is fixated on this creature at the expense of the people who need the vaccine.
Right, and Kirk does not take it personally, which he shouldn't.
Mm.
Hey, Dalek's here. Hey, Dalek.
Hello, Dalek. Thank you for keeping an eye on the chat, Scotty. I'm looking at my notes. And so, of course, Kirk doesn't want to leave orbit. He's not going for the vaccine yet. He's got to figure out this creature.
And he has a good reason, because remember now, the last time he saw the creature was on the other side of the galaxy. So he's basically saying that if we don't stand and fight here, we're going to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
But the language on the bridge is not conducive to Kirk's desire to go after the cloud. So he accuses them of conspiring.
And I know. Shame to say that to Scotty of all people.
I know, but at least he immediately takes it back.
Almost. Yes. And Scotty accepts his apology.
Mm. Yeah, there it is.
Everybody's like, what? Come on.
Oh, except for Zulu, that is.
Well, Sulu's not here.
Exactly. So everybody's going to be firing against him except for Zulu.
Yeah. That's why he got the captaincy.
Walter Koenig had to love it, the fact that George Takei was gone, because it gave him a lot more screen time.
Yeah, it gave him a chance to build his character before Sulu gets back.
Right, otherwise he would always been second banana to Sulu, but it really built his character, so by the time Sulu came back, the two were equals.
Although when they first started together, they had a kind of friendship that I really liked in one of those episodes where they really worked together pretty well.
Well, they do, and they'll continue that.
But it is funny how, when you look at it in retrospect, the friendship between Chekhov and Sulu is from the Deadly Years or Amok Time. Like, it is... It's a very few scenes, and also in Star Trek V when they go on vacation together. And so I don't know. Is it actually something that we as an audience sort of infer upon the two, or is it something that is cemented in the presentation?
I think it's we infer, because they don't spend a lot of time establishing the two as friends. Mm-hmm. So we're just used to seeing them together for so many years.
We just assume because they sit side by side at the at the helm,
right? And they seem to get along very well, right?
Yeah,
yeah, they do, and a lot of the humor happens with the side characters in Star Trek, and so that's also something that makes them seem more friendly.
Yes.
And you need advice from me? You must be kidding. I do not joke, Doctor. Perhaps I should rephrase my statement. I require an opinion. There are many aspects of human irrationality I do not comprehend, obsession for one. So and this is from the book, the 365 book, and so I'm going to read from here. It's from this scene. And so I'll read it. Oh, that's too big. So the seemingly simple clapperboard is one of the most important pieces of equipment used on a film set. Without the information on it, a film editor would have a difficult time figuring out which snippet of footage he was viewing at any given time. Essentially, the board is a slate. The upper portion lists the name of the production company, in this case, Desilu, the production Star Trek, the series production number 603, immediately followed by the episode number 47. The director's name, Ralph Sinensky, the cinematographer's name, Jerry Finnerman, and the date. Below that on the chalkboard are the scene 53C and take 2 numbers. The name clapper relates to the sound the device makes when the hinged bar across the top is loudly clapped shut.
Also
sound-
signaling the audio editor.
Mhm.
Right, they
Yes.
also clip it because it signals the audio editor. Because this is for both the video editor and the audio editor.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The
Otherwise,
sound-
they would just hold it up in front of the camera and then move it out of the way. But the fact that they clap it to signify to the audio editor that recording action.
That makes sense. The sound is as important as the visual.
Oops.
It's the
sorry.
editor's prime clue for synchronizing the audio track with the visual track. No, that's okay. I loved your explanation too. It was more thorough. Scene 53 of Obsession consisted of a serious discussion between Spock and McCoy. In the master shot 53A, the camera captured both actors as they went through the action and dialogue from beginning to end. The camera was then resituated to shoot Spock in close-up 53B, where Leonard Nimoy repeated the entire scene while DeForest Kelley responded from off-camera. In the image at the right, the slate indicates that the lens has been focused on Kelley, who is about to repeat McCoy's lines in close-up for the second time. Apparently, the director wanted Kelley to perform a second take. Thus, scene 53C, take 2. The camera department crew member who handles the clapperboard is called the film loader. The tasks that person performs include everything physical about the film stock, from loading raw film into the camera and marking it correctly via the slate information to place the exposed film into the marked film can, and then placing that can into a secure desk storage until the loader delivers it to the editor. It's a highly responsible position, not for the faint of heart, although it does have one interesting perk. By the end of a production, the film's loader hands have become very recognizable, if only to the person in the editing room. Oh, and there's a personal log from Captain Kirk. I think I'll read it. Personal log, stardate 3620.7. Have I the right to jeopardize my crew, my ship, for a feeling I can't even put into words? No man achieves Starfleet command without relying on intuition. But I have made have I made a rational decision? Am I letting the horrors of the past distort my judgment of the present?
Even more self-aware than Jean-Luc.
Right. Jean-Luc needed to smash his little ships before he realized how far he'd gotten.
It's so funny because even then, even in First Contact, Beverly is acting like a woman who like abused in a relationship, and it's like, well, that's the captain, and if the captain makes the decision, we have to adhere to it. And here we get to see, no, you don't.
Yeah,
in fact, there are regulations for such stuff, Bev.
Exactly, and so we have Spock and McCoy challenging the captain when they feel like what he's doing is something to be concerned about. And so this
is one of those great and when I refer to Chekhov and Sulu as I who said it, but someone said that they were space bros, which is something that I remember, but not necessarily presented very frequently. Having Spock and McCoy work together, even though their animosity, and especially when we saw in was it Gamesters of Triskelion, where it's like, do they hate each other? And it's like, sometimes I don't even know if they know. I don't think it was Gamesters, but like I do appreciate as the series progresses, you do get to see the professional relationship between Spock and McCoy, which again is paid off a decade later, a decade and a half later, when you get to Star Trek 3. Like all of this is just the mythology of Star Trek that pays off years later.
I agree.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so this is a great way to build up Captain Kirk's character. So Shatner has very little to be worried about.
Oh, it was Bread and Circuses, not Gamesters of Triskelion. I misremembered. I apologize.
Yeah, that now when you say that, that reminds me of I believe the correct response is you're welcome.
Yes. A grand total of 2 seconds. And if I hadn't delayed, it would have been killed. None of this would have happened, mirroring Garavic's guilt as well.
Yeah, guilt inflicted upon him by Captain Kirk himself.
Well, no, he didn't hit it. Like, that's part of the reason why he's relieved of duty. It's like, so you had a hovering target and you missed? And it's like, well, I didn't start firing until it moved and I missed it. And it's like, all right, well, then your reflexes are substandard for a security chief or security officer. Get off my bridge.
There's no about it.
Obsessed, Doctor. And I do like this as well because McCoy does enter Kirk's quarters as a friend, and then Kirk is like, "Don't press our friendship, Doctor." And Bones is not having any of it, and he's like, "I'm not. This is professional. You're being bug nuts, yo."
I'm preparing a medical log entry on my estimation of the physical and emotional condition of a starship captain, and which requires a witness of command grade. And here it is, very professional, as he says. It turns into almost informal hearing.
It is, and I like this. It's like, all right, we gotta have a professional conversation about the way you're running this ship, sir. We have perishable goods. Don't bother me with the facts, Spock. I know what they are.
He's convinced that the creature is the same one that attacked the Farragut and killed 200 people. And so they still don't believe it's a creature, but Kirk feels the intelligence.
Is Kirk the only person on the Farragut who thinks that it was a ghost? Not a ghost, but like I only say ghost because it's a wispy cloud. But like, is Kirk the only one from the Farragut who believes the dichironium creature to have intelligence?
Malicious, to be malicious.
Mm-hmm.
Did they mention that? I don't know if they mentioned that.
They don't really talk too much about the rest of the crew's opinions of the cloud creature.
Kirk, right, and Kirk is the only one that experienced it personally, so I'm guessing he may be the only one. The crew of the Farragut may have dismissed it like the crew of the Enterprise.
Right. Well, since I haven't rewatched this episode too many times, I kept thinking maybe they were going to try to communicate with the cloud, but they never quite make it that far.
No.
And so that might have been an interesting addition. The textbook says, as Star Trek historians have noted, James T. Kirk was the quintessential Starfleet officer, a man among men and a hero for the ages. Nevertheless, he was human and susceptible to many human frailties, including, as Dr. McCoy put it, the greatest monster of them all, guilt. The death of Garavik, one of the finest men Kirk ever knew, haunted the captain for years. The reappearance of the entity that killed his former commander triggered within Kirk an obsession that would lead him to endanger not only his own crew, but the populace of an entire planet, desperately in need of medical deliveries. Kirk initially couldn't help believing that he'd been given a chance to redeem himself for that long-ago mistake in judgment. Instead, he realized that he'd been wrong about his role in Garavik's death, which made finding a way to eliminate the deadly cloud creature not an act of exculpation, but one of everyday heroism. Every day, that is, if you're James T. Kirk.
Like, do you want to do a tally of all of the atrocities that Jim Kirk has? Like, I can think of two, but he was part of Kodos's. He was on the colony that Kodos killed half the people.
Okay, you're talking about the Shakespeare episode.
Yeah. What's it called?
A Conscience.
Conscience of the King.
Yeah.
And so he's been on a planet where half of the population has been destroyed. He's been on a ship where half of the crew have been murdered by an anomaly, not even considered to be intelligent at the time. Like, Kirk's carrying a lot of baggage.
He is, and it is really interesting every time his history comes up. They don't just bring up his past for no reason. It is very integral.
It speaks to his character. It's not just sort of like, last time, this is why he's a jerk.
And so he believes that this thing is a threat. A galactic threat. Because it's
intuition. Intuition is still a captain's prerogative, which I appreciated.
Exactly. This is just his intuition, although many of the facts are starting to line up with his intuition, which is very good for him.
Well, and if you wanted to compare, like, we've had other sort of white whales. Sorry, before we move on or reminisce, Chekhov finally replies with, "All right, we found an anomalous reading, and it is leaving the planet. Let's chase after it, and it is going at warp speed. And for a natural phenomenon to go warp speed, crazy, insane. I'm reminded of Gumtoo." And it's like, well, that's a natural being that can travel at warp.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay, so Spock says, conflicting data, Captain. It seems to be in a borderline state between matter and energy. Elements of both. It could possibly use gravitational fields for propulsion. And so that's our sci-fi conceit for the creature for this episode. And apparently it can manipulate gravity enough to use it for propulsion at warp speeds faster than the Enterprise.
Well, doesn't Spock say it moves in and out of this dimension?
Does he say that?
I think he refers to it in terms of the density of the cloud. And
he doesn't say dimension.
Something along that line. I don't remember if it was the word dimension, but it was something along those lines.
Thank you. But it's interesting because it's one of the reasons that Spock realizes that it's like, well, this thing's far more sophisticated than we're giving it credit for.
Well, this is where Spock's trying to realize that it's intelligent.
Well, what it says is it goes between matter and energy.
So it's phasing. I guess phasing on out.
And so that's some fun, interesting ideas.
Can you use a photon? Can you use a photon torpedo at warp? Like, if you're firing ahead, do photon torpedoes travel at warp?
Well, in this scene, they show them firing the photons. Are they at warp when they do it? I think they are.
They are because they're chasing it.
Right, they're at warp 6 at that point, because he does tell them eventually, I know they're 8, and then he tells Scotty to back it down to 6, but they do fire a photon.
Right, because Scotty says that 8 is too dangerous. Warp 8 is very dangerous for the Enterprise. It could tear the ship apart. So Captain Kirk, is obsessed as he is chasing this whale, he listens to his engineer, he listens to his crew, and goes back down to 6. And so that's this scene here. Oh man, but we can't skip this scene before we get back to. We haven't even tried to fire at the cloud creature yet. We've got to feed Ensign Garvik.
Who is sulking?
He is. And so Nurse Chapel brings him some dinner, and he's just consumed. Yeah, he's sulking about. He feels guilty about not firing on time. And so this is a quote that I posted on my Twitter earlier. I love it. You know, self-pity's a terrible first course. Why don't you try the soup instead? And when Garvik still won't eat, she gives him a she gives him a diatribe. I love it. I'm just gonna read it. I love this is one of the best chapel quotes I've read so far. Dr. McCoy thought you might say something like that. This she holds up a card, a tape. This is his officially logged prescription for you. It has one word on it: eat. Now, if you don't follow his orders, Dr. McCoy could, and possibly would, have you hauled down to sickbay and fed intravenously. And she leaves with the tape. And we find out that that it just had some research on it or something not
Right.
related to
Dr.
anything.
McCoy's not even aware of what's going on.
And she's just applying some psychology. And so that shows that we have a very good nurse on our hands on the Enterprise. And I love it. I know I'm a bit behind on the chat, and I should go back to check that out before we get back to the bridge. And so yeah, let's check out the chat. Where are we? I wonder if I left a star. Usually you can put a star in the chat so I can figure out where it was. Here the AI show says the gaseous special effects reminds me of the cloud and fog animation from Scooby-Doo. Mark Harkness says, well, Doomsday Machine was the Moby Dick story too. So yes, Spock and McCoy recently had an experience with the captain who became tunnel focused. So yeah, so Commodore Decker was Ahab who met his end in Doomsday Machine. Very, very great episode. Franco Walker says, I've got a red shirt, but mine's engineering, so I'm sort of safer. Yeah,
Right,
engineering. Unless you're going down on the planet, as long as you're stuck in the engine room, you're probably all right. But you still have to watch out for those exploding consoles.
Yes.
Mark, the AI show says to Mark, so original story credit for Doomsday Machine to Ahab. And Franco thinks that Kirk is an arse in this episode, but with reason. Definitely with reason. He has good reasons. Dalek 451. Oh yeah, Dalek 451 was here 20 minutes ago. So I'm only 20 minutes behind, and this shouldn't be too bad. Tyron says, I'm also thinking, Princess Fiona, that Vulcan is much hotter than Earth and Vulcans don't sweat. That the copper conducts heat more efficiently through their bodies, helping to regulate their temperature. Well, that's just a fact, Tyron, that things are hotter on Vulcan, and that's why any moment on the bridge where everybody else is sweating, Spock is cleaned up. Any sweat that Leonard Nimoy gets, they clean it up because he shouldn't be sweating so as easily as humans do. And Snortopupus Cuber says, Captain Kirk is clearly a flawed individual and has limitations. For example, he has trouble properly digesting the bacon from the studio cafeteria. But yes, all the best characters have some sort of flaws, and any character who's perfect is not going to be any fun. Princess Fiona says the new ether is some dark matter liquid gravity thing. Oh man, I haven't even heard of that. I forgot what they're calling it. Unlike the normal ether, it flows in one direction, something that could allow for absolute position. Yeah. Guys, I'm going to get into this physics stuff eventually so I can talk to you a little bit more, Fiona. This would totally revolutionize the idea relativity's relativity's frame of reference. That sounds awesome. I haven't heard of it. I'll look into it.
Yeah, it does sound cool.
And that's what Franco Walker says, but yeah, I echo that. It's strange that a Vulcan couldn't understand obsession since they go through Ponfar every 7 years. Do they forget what they were thinking and feeling during that time? And yeah, and so yes, Spock has gone through his Ponfar, so he should be a little more knowledgeable about how these emotions actually feel, since he's had to experience some of them. That does make sense. That's a good point, Fiona. Mark Harkness says, from the Ultimate Computer, we got helm and navigation control back. Plot a course to the space station. And Sulu says, you heard him. And smiles. Chekhov says, I've been updating that course for hours. Oh yeah, I can't wait till we get to Ultimate Computer. I love that episode. And Franco says, I imagine it's a form of animalistic behavior that gets blocked from memory. Yeah, I guess. Oh, okay. That actually, you know what, Franco Walker, that makes sense. Because during Ponfar, you get very primal. He gets primal. Spock gets primal, and for me, that paralleled going into labor, and so I don't know. I think I kind of blocked that out too.
Well, I'm wondering maybe I could be wrong, but in my opinion, maybe the difference is with Ponfar, it's sexual and it's nature, and with Kirk here, it's revenge.
And well, yeah, and it's his. He wants to set right what he thinks he's done wrong.
Yes.
And Sean Carter.
Hello, Sean. Good to see you.
And Dalek 451 has 2 bits of good news for us. He says, first, we finally have new internet, and I'm hoping that helps with all the problems he's been having. Yeah, I do hope that helps. I didn't know you're experiencing issues. I'm so glad. AI Show says, now I imagine that Star Trek series are shot on a DV cam and no longer on film. Maybe a red camera, perhaps? Not sure.
Possible. A lot of green screen, too. Red cams are pretty expensive. I don't know if they use those for television production. I know they use them for movies.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know at which point we switched from film to digital in Star Trek.
Not long after the Star Wars sequels.
And Princess Fiona says, this is why I don't like the Star Trek movies. Oh, because we were talking about the First Contact, yes. But it is a interesting episode to parallel with this one. And this one easily overshadows it. Princess Fiona says, so Vulcans don't remember getting married? That could help a great deal of humans.
Yeah, I don't think they forget. That doesn't really sound like a lot of sense.
I wouldn't think he'd forget all of it, but any moments where he goes really primal, I think maybe some of it may get buried into the subconscious.
That's possible.
It's possible. We don't know for sure what Spock remembers of his Ponfar. Dalek 4, but he should remember the marriage part. Dalek 451 says, second, last night I bought Back to the Future, the Ultimate Trilogy on Blu-ray from Amazon. It should arrive tomorrow. This is the first Blu-ray I've ever bought. I can't wait.
Oh, that would be nice. All the extras and everything. Yeah, screen test, everything.
Hey, that's a great first Blu-ray set to buy.
Absolutely, wonderful soundtrack.
I don't have that one. That sounds great. The AI Show says to Princess Fiona, Vulcans go through a degree of emotions, but not under certain aspects like obsession. The Kolinar, after all, requires detachment, and therefore obsession is attachment opposites. But Spock hasn't gone through Kolinar. He doesn't attempt to go through it until the motion picture, and then he's like, no, actually, I need to have these emotions in the background of my being. So never mind. Princess Fiona says, whenever a Vulcan says they don't understand something, I find it quite puzzling. I get they don't experience the emotion, but they certainly should be academically familiar with the symptoms. And they should. You're absolutely right. Because Vulcans actually have extremely powerful emotions that they are suppressing, they should have an idea of what those emotions could potentially do to them if they weren't so disciplined to suppress them. Mark Harkness says, out of 200 survivors, most of them likely did not have direct contact with it. This suggests Kirk owes his life to a quick transporter operator. That makes sense. Wonder who that was.
Somebody aboard the USS Farragut.
Yep. Hopefully survived. Also survived the encounter.
And also that it was in between the slides, but Garvik threw the lid to his dish, hitting the vent, breaking the switch into the open position.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did that. I missed grabbing that. Thank you. If it didn't happen yet,
No
I think
problem.
he looks. Actually, no. It comes a little bit later because
Okay, gotcha.
he's just thinking on it right now. And then he looks, because I did get a clip of the food cubes. We get to see the food cubes.
Right, we do see the food cubes.
Mm-hmm. And the AI show says Top Secret was spoofing positions on film production. I do like the flapper clapper. As a former online film reviewer, I always thought Top Secret was underrated.
I agree completely. That's the best of the Abrams Zucker movies. Monty Python also poked fun during the Holy Grail if you watch the credits.
Here it is. I didn't exactly get the food tray smashing into the ventilator.
That's it.
Controls, but there it is. There's the bypass. I don't know. What's Top Secret? What's the AI show talking about?
It's a comedy parody of World War II, Elvis, and the Nazis. It's extremely hilarious. I would say it's a top best comedy of all time.
Oh, wow.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Franco Walker says, Spock quotes Earth writers and history, so he must have studied an awful lot about Earth. You would think emotions would have turned up at some point. Yeah, exactly, because he has a human mother, Amanda, who certainly taught him about Earth and literature and possibly some of Earth history because of how much he knows. And I
think Amanda's a lot of also what taught him to hold on to some of his emotions.
Yeah, especially since in the episode This Side of Paradise, one of the insults is that your mother is an encyclopedia. So she must have taught him quite a lot. And yeah, as soon as he decides that he wants to embrace his Vulcan side, I'm sure she supported it any way she could. So I'm sure you're right on that. Sort of Poop, it says Yorktown is waiting to rendezvous with the Enterprise to transfer the medicine. It seems to be a bit of a MacGuffin. They never explain why Yorktown couldn't deliver the medicine directly. Oh, yeah.
Was it because they were chasing the cloud across the galaxy?
Well, the Enterprise was chasing the cloud. Why couldn't the Yorktown go to Theta or 7? Is that the planet?
True. Well, I don't remember, but you could be right.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty generic planet name too. That's a good question, Star Boobus. Why did it have to be the Enterprise? Maybe the Enterprise is faster? How fast does Yorktown go? Princess Fiona says they do that a lot especially on TNG, which is especially ridiculous since replicators. Yeah, because in TNG they have to keep explaining why. Oh, well, this one cannot be replicated because XYZ. We tried to replicate it, but it has this property that precludes us from it. So this is now a scarce resource. Herc 130 says, more meetings. Just broke free. Hello, all.
All right, good to see you. Glad you could join us.
Definitely. And Oh my goodness. Oh, Mark Harkness says, yes, you can. Oh, so he answers our question from earlier. The destruction of the Woden ultimate computer by photon torpedoes. The Woden ultimate computer by photon torpedoes at warp. So yes, you may use your photon torpedoes in warp. Good to know. Oh, and it's coming to a halt here. And so they're going to shoot their phasers at the cloud creature to no effect. It depends on which Technobabble manual you read. Some say the torpedoes, if launched at warp speed, will continue to travel at warp speed, says Snorpoopus Cuber. Okay, that makes sense. Be part of the bubble. And Kapla, Bird of Prey 5.
Kapla, Bird of Prey, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well.
James Caserta just found out he's a Klingon. Wow. Snorpoopus says, the lawn people are here with their nuclear-powered leaf blowers and trimmers. 3 hours of lovely noise coming up. And so Princess Fiona and Tyron are doing a very good job talking about Vulcan physiology. You'd still need to conduct heat away from the blood, and evaporation is the most efficient way to do that, says Princess Fiona. My theory is that Vulcans can regulate their flatulence to dissipate body heat, says Snorpoopus.
Ask Uhura, I guess.
Yeah, right. She sits next to Spock, so she would know. She would be able to figure that out. But anything that has to do with dark matter is automatically suspect to me. Dark matter is the woke of physics. A lot of people don't agree with it, but they are afraid to speak out. Well, dark matter is what they use to line up the math to be the way they want it to be. And there is something that we can't perceive out there that is affected by light and gravity in some way. Whether it's dark matter or something else, we're just not quite sure yet. Sean Carter says, likely true. I wonder if Vulcans can flatulate 3 times as strongly as humans as well. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I can't help you with that. Franco Walker says Voyager was shot digitally. Not sure about Deep Space Nine, but TNG was shot on film. That was my question. Did it start in TNG? So maybe it started somewhere in Deep Space Nine. That makes sense.
It makes sense. Well, TNG, if I remember right, was shot on film, but the space sequences and special effects were on video.
Oh. Okay, then I guess the digital, yeah, it started there. Oh my goodness. And Princess Fiona says, I haven't gotten to labor yet, but having watched Rings of Power, I can't imagine anything being more painful than that. Well, yeah, it's not a walk in the park. James Caserta says, they say it's like pushing a turkey out of your nose. Yeah, fair enough. Princess Fiona says, as opposed to Rings of Power, which is like pushing a bowling ball out of your urethra. Oh yeah, Rings of Power. Man, I don't know how much of that you managed to watch, Princess Fiona, but I watched 2 episodes and I wrote little reviews on them. Never shared them with anybody because I was like, I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to give attention to it because it's just garbage. It's that bad. It's just not even, it was not worth my time and I quit watching it. But if you want to learn why rocks sink and paper floats, watch Rings of Power. Startup Cuber says, which just shows the dinner trays on the Enterprise are made of adamantium. While the control switch are made brittle styrene plastic. Mark Harkness says, Top Secret is Val Kilmer's film debut. You can watch it a dozen times and catch a gag you missed before every time.
Yes, he was dating Cher at the time.
Princess Fiona tells us if they can transport something on the transporter, they should be able to replicate it. Yeah, agreed. Agreed, Princess Fiona. Yeah, right. If they're able to break down the constitution of something and rematerialize it, then replicating it should be no issue. So does that mean you cannot transport latinum? Do you always have to deliver latinum by shuttlecraft?
That's a good question.
Because we're told you cannot replicate latinum, the liquid. That is a good point. At the very least, they could replicate the equipment needed to manufacture the substance. TV writers, yuck. Well, at least the original series doesn't have that problem because we don't have replicators yet. Just food synthesizers. You've got to have the raw materials for the food on board your ship in order to make those food cubes. Snortopoopas says it's never said in the series what class Yorktown is, but the making of Star Trek by Stephen Whitfield, 1968, listed her as one of Enterprise's sister ships. Oh,
Yeah, I think it was Constitution class. There was 12.
okay. In that case, the Yorktown could have taken care of this whole problem. I think you're right, Snortopoopas. I can't think of a reason why not. But we needed this drama for the episode. And Snortopoopa says, I never had a turkey up my nose. I suspect that would be painful. Right. That would mean, okay, so the AI show says to the princess, that would mean you need a replicator that functions like a 3D machine does now, but much faster. I'm surprised some writer didn't apply that to solid objects in the original series. Oh, okay. Princess Fiona made it 23 minutes into the first episode. I watched a lot of reviews about it. I watched 2 episodes and then I watched no reviews about it afterwards. I was done. Snortopoopus says Morn transports latinum in his stomach.
Morn?
Oh, yeah. That means Morn can't use the transporter. Ever. We never see him on the transporter, so this rule is not violated by Morn in particular. Wow. Mark I love this. I love what's going on in the chat. It's just great. Mark Harkness says Yorktown could complete delivery, but Yorktown has her own operational area to be responsible for. So Yorktown having to leave on her own duties unattended is not how Starfleet likes to do things. Thank you, Mark Harkness. There's a military explanation onto why the Enterprise had to rendezvous with Yorktown to take the medicine to the planet. And that works for me. So when this is brought up again, when Scotty gets back, I have an answer for him. That is a beautiful answer. Oh, Amy, you're back. Just in time for Mark Harkness's explanation as to why the Yorktown couldn't just take the medicine to the planet on its own. It had its own area of responsibility to take care of.
Yeah. There are sectors of responsibility. Jill, can I interrupt with an engineer's personal log?
Please do.
So Scotty's log today. I am wrestling with a home theater for my dad. We were dealing with an LG Blu-ray player, an LG receiver, and a Samsung television. Now the LG player wouldn't play all of the Blu-rays that we have. So I went and I got a Sony Blu-ray player. And now there is an order of operations to make the sound work on the receiver.
You mean
and it seems to be magic. I seem to be flirting with the electronics, which makes me so frustrated because I am of a mind that if electronics work, they work. If they don't work, then they don't work. There is no press this button, then this button, insert this disc, and then this disc. And this is what seems to be happening. It is so absolutely frustrating. Now, I'm trying to fix
this. Let me ask
this.
you a question. The audio.
Please.
Does it use a Toslink cable, a fiber optic?
It's going through HDMI.
Oh, okay. That eliminates
Like
my
the
question
whole,
there.
it's, I am beyond frustrated. And now the solution seems to be, go return that Sony player. But the Sony player plays all the discs and the LG doesn't. But the consistency of sound in the LG player seems to be, more consistent. I want to blame the receiver, but
I was going to say that next.
But I don't want to throw more money at this and be like, you know what we need? Another piece of electronics. So anyway, I am doing my best to problem solve and troubleshoot this particular issue. Oh, my stars. What is this? Princess Fiona says in the chat, you're having HDCP handshake issues. Do you have a solution, Princess Fiona? Because I'd promote you right here. You can be Queen Fiona if you wish. Anyway, I have to go and I have to go troubleshoot this. If anyone in the chat does happen to have any solutions, I would greatly appreciate any of those solutions that you happen to have. Please,
definitely. If you're going through Blu-ray players, I've had nothing but good luck with LG players. I don't see why that would have so many problems.
Well,
so
no, but
it does point to the issue being external to that.
Well, no,
especially if you want to find out, plug up your Blu-ray player to a different output device, like a different TV or a different something.
Oh, if I were to plug it directly into the television, then everything would be absolutely tickety boo. Like it would only play through the television speakers as opposed to the surround sound that has been set up through the receiver.
Right.
So
what brand is the surround sound?
I'm sorry?
What brand is the surround sound receiver?
LG. Yeah. So anyway, if anybody happens to have any answers, I am at ScottyR37 on Twitter. I would appreciate any assistance. I'm going to continue to wrestle with this problem because I do have, I like to say my client would like this resolved, but in all honesty, it's my dad wants to watch war movies. So, but if you have any answers, that is great. But I do have to excuse myself to resolve this problem.
I understand.
Would you like my pre-ending of the episode review?
Sure.
B.
Okay.
I really appreciate it for the characterization of everyone involved. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it an A-. I like it for the characterization of everyone involved. I like everyone doing their job. I do enjoy how when an emotional crew member, whether that be the captain or not, being confronted by the regulations of Starfleet. There are contingency plans for an overly emotional and irrationally driven commanding officer. These things have been presented in the original series with Commodore Decker. And I think that this is a great character episode with a monster of the week. So it's like B+, A-. I'm waffling, but we've met, so I waffle. But yeah, I do really enjoy this episode. Garavik is sort of dry white toast, but I appreciate him for what he is. And I can't wait for the resurrection of Mr. Leslie in the same way that we got to see the resurrection of Mr. Rizzo.
Right. Me too.
So I apologize. I apologize for having to leave, but unfortunately communications are down on the engineering deck and I have to fix that.
Understood. So we'll see you next time.
See you
in the future. Scotty.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you for being
here. Live long and prosper.
I hope you figure it out.
Yeah. Good luck.
Pleasure.
And also, Princess Fiona is sending a link to Scotty R37. Let's see if it's here. Okay, so there's a lot of help for Scotty's issues that he's having. Let's see. I'm going to look for specifically the things that'll help Scotty in case he is still listening to this. Because Fiona asked for a link to share, a wrench to share a link, and I've given this wrench. The reason, Dalek says, the reason I never bought a Blu-ray before is simply because I never had anything to play it on. I do now with my PS5, which does play Blu-rays. And Snortopoopus says, is this the one? And so HD CP splitter is what Snortopoopus believes that is needed in this situation for Scotty's issues with the television. And much like Canadian Spider-Man, I am confused. Like, for me, I'm
not sure unless I have my hands on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to be there too. I would just play with it until I figured it out. So
But it is a
he's
pain
running.
when you're crossing different brands and manufacturers.
Well, yeah, especially when you're plugging the Blu-ray player into your sound system. Okay.
Yeah.
What's going on there? HTTP. Okay, so Amazon. Let's see what this is because I can't just read the link. So it's a port 1x1 powered HDMI 1 into out mini splitter for 1080p and 3D model. Okay, so Scotty checked that out from Princess Fiona. She thinks this will solve your issue.
But it sounds like it's limited at 1080p.
And it's only $20 for 1080p, and I think that would be fine. Is that a problem?
I don't know. I don't know the resolution of the television.
Yeah,
if it can go higher than 4K or higher than 1080p, sure.
Yeah, I would think so. If yeah, that would make a difference. But as Scotty left, we will not know. Hopefully that helps you, Scotty. Check out the link that Fiona posted for you, and maybe purchasing this item will help with your issue.
Hopefully we'll have some luck.
Yeah. It will also allow to copy PlayStation footage. Oh, it's a capture. Is it a capture device? Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, here it is. So just in case you guys want to see it.
It's not bad for the price.
Hmm. Yeah, so it provides the same video and audio signals identical to HDMI input signal, but yeah, I do want to get back to the episode though. But if Scotty wants wants to talk about it anymore, he can always come back to the panel if he wants to talk about it.
Oh yeah,
he's still welcome. So Franco Walker says that's one way to get around to Princess Fiona. Yes, true enough. Okay, so where was I? Princess Fiona says that's how it started, but then it led to a bunch of assumptions and shortcuts for that far surpassed its original purpose, and they are only assuming that the matter is there to begin with. Yeah, that's fair enough. It's all theoretical stuff that we just can't. It's really tough when you can't do too many experiments on it.
Right, and you don't want to, like Scotty said, keep buying more equipment just to find out it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. But this is just $20. That's not too bad.
Well, no, when it's Amazon, which means you can return it.
Mm-hmm. True, and they make it really easy to return. You just print the label.
Yep.
Nordapupa says if Yorktown delivered the medicine, there would be two starships in the same quadrant. Clearly a violation of Starfleet. Oh, sorry. So, the Enterprise is a patrol ship or an exploratory ship? I would think exploratory.
Both.
And also, yeah.
Because they use them to patrol the neutral zone. Yeah.
The AI show says Starfleet could always order the Yorktown to fulfill the mission if another starship were unable to get the mission done. If there was a emergency, they could do it. And showing, Mark Harkness says, showing the flag and carrying starfleets, and most importantly, the Federation's authority beyond easy reach of communication from home. Two. Oh, okay. I didn't read them together. The Enterprise operates as a cruiser or a frigate of earlier seafaring ages, says Mark Harkness. They go off to the far reaches, both patrolling and exploring. Showing the flag and carrying starfleets, more importantly, Federation's authority beyond the easy reach of communication from home.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget the poll. Franco Walker wants you to remember. And also, Edgy Time says, you kids wanted Hasbrat with extra fire. I serve it up, and you just sit there poking at your gawk.
Yes, everybody, don't forget to vote in the poll and hit the like button.
Get it down your pie holes or no holodeck pass. Thank you, Edgy Time. Well, if the Hasbrat is spicy, I'll enjoy it.
I don't believe I've had that.
it's a Bajoran dish, I believe.
Oh, that explains why I haven't had that.
But it's supposed to be spicy, so anything spicy, I'm interested.
Yeah, same here. I like spicy.
Dalek says, the reasons I've never bought a Blu-ray. Oh, yeah, I did read that one earlier. You got a PS5 now, so you can play it. And Spidey is confused. I'm a bit confused too, but I really hope Scotty figures it out. That'd be great. Or decides to buy this thing. I would have recommended a speaker that plugs into the HDMI, so you wouldn't have to worry about just plugging your Blu-ray player into your sound system. I never even thought about doing that. Canadian Spider-Man says, always good to see you, buddy. And Princess Fiona says, it eliminates copy protection on the HDMI signal. Oh, is that what's happening?
Ooh, nice. There's that pays for the $20 alone.
Now it's starting. What Princess is talking about is starting to make some sense. That's why it's good for capturing video games.
Right, and that's putting it not lightly. Obviously, there's other things you could be doing if it removes the copy guard.
Yes. Tyron says, hey man, how the heck are you? I tried sending you a text message about Abe Salim. Did you get that?
Abe Salim, I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know either. James Caserta says, can you build a rudimentary lathe? That sounds like Galaxy Quest. Is that Galaxy Quest?
It sounds possible.
Yeah, I think that is. Canadian Spider-Man says, nope, I did not, but I got a new cell phone number since returning from Mexico. Really? Canadian Spider-Man is sharing his cell phone number. Spidey.
Beware.
My goodness. Let me know if you want me to clip that out later, or you're totally okay with everybody who watches this stream having your phone number. Princess Fiona says, if it's a exploratory vessel, it wouldn't have an area of responsibility that already has people in it. That's a good point. I don't really quite know the rules myself.
By the way, I apologize for the background noise. They're working on the house across the street.
It's not that bad. It's quite pleasant, kind of ASMR. It's not too loud. If it were, I would tell you. Canadian Spider-Man says, good for you, Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I've been not working much. Time to get a real job, I suppose. And James Caserta says, Galaxy Quest, the AI show? Thank Ipthar. Yeah, see, I got it. It was Galaxy Quest. Great. Tyron says, you can delete that now, mate. I'll give you a buzz. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Hold on just a moment.
No problem. Also, everybody, if you haven't yet subscribed to Anti-Driven Jill's channel, please do so. Consider hitting the like button and hit the alert button for further notifications.
When I sneeze about 20 times in a row. Just a moment.
Oh, you got to get it out, so that's understandable.
And hopefully that's it. Canadian Spider-Man says, I have no secrets, except for my secret identity. Great. Well, I'm glad that's cleared up. James Caserta continues to quote Galaxy Quest. What a savings. By Grapthar's hammer. What a savings. Yes, that's great. Apeseline is a fancy word for jumping off things with a rope.
Oh, okay. So, not like repelling? Similar?
Yes, that sounds right. I mean, that sounds good enough for me. I guess if you're on a rope, I guess you'd be going off a cliff. Or something.
I think they're using a jackhammer. It's like, oh.
Oh, Gorilla's Random Thought says I skipped something. He had a suggestion. Let's see. Spidey, lots of places hiring. Spidey been here, just a very busy day at work.
Yeah, lots of places hiring part-time, that is. The number of full-time jobs are dramatically down with benefits.
Gorilla's Random Thought says he needs a catapult and some buckshot. Oh, for Scotty. I don't know if that would help. Was that your suggestion? Yeah, you put it in twice, so that has to be it. I found it. Hooray. Thank you. Princess Fiona says, copy protection on HDMI is poorly implemented and often interferes with the handshaking, which is necessary because HDMI isn't passive. It contains control signals, which are also poorly implemented.
That's good to know.
I bet Jill has the cutest sneezes. Well, maybe next time I sneeze, I will do it live. Don't sneeze out a turkey. That's a callback to some earlier comments, if you've been listening to the whole stream. Only 20. Those are rookie numbers. And Wes Kegel says, I meant Gesundheit. Thank you. And so, let's get back to this episode. Where are we? We're at the point where oh man, this is the point where I wish Hungry Boy would magically show up. He's missing his episode. This is precisely the point where I'm thinking of him more. Where is he?
Well, hopefully he's getting some sleep.
Yeah, right. And that's good too. But I'm gonna send him an exclamation point, just in case he's around. I was awake at 4 a.m. but not anymore. Mark Harkness says, from the menagerie, why would someone want to divert us from our course? There are no problems in the sector we're patrolling now. No alien troubles. Starships grow where needed, but still have operation zones.
Interesting.
I love Jill streams. We often take the numerous detours. I'm sure they annoy some people, but I like where they go. Me too.
That's to make some fun.
Yeah, so right. And in between Vampire Cloud invading the Enterprise, we get to learn about the trouble that HDMI has with copyright protection. Oh, wait a minute. This is a weird thing. When it entered Impulse Engine number 2's vent, it attacked 2 crewmen, then it got into the ventilating systems, and now we have air for only 2 hours. How do they resolve this later? Is my main question there. I don't know if they ever mention it again.
Well, don't they resolve it by getting rid of the creature?
Well, does getting rid of the creature...
Because I'm guessing the creatures would block the vents.
Okay.
I could
Okay,
be
yes.
wrong.
No, you could be right. That does make sense. Thank you. That answers it for me.
That may be how the Farragut. So many people died aboard the Farragut.
Right. Maybe more people died of suffocation, asphyxiation than
Mm-hmm.
from the actual creature itself, from
Yep.
the consumption of blood. And so Bones is mentioning how many more people are dying because of this creature that they're chasing, but Fox says the whole thing's academic now because now the creature is after us, and this is the point in which Spock finally agrees with Kirk that this is not just an anomaly. This is a creature because it turned around and attacked.
Yes.
Its method was well considered and intelligent. And so they've got to get closer to it. And Scotty, try flushing out the radioactive waste into the ventilation system. And that's the next thing they try. And I love that McCoy doesn't try to come up with any excuses. He just says, "I'm sorry, I was wrong."
Yep. Definitely willing to admit his mistake.
Hmm.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Time sink is what Scotty was referring to. Not
Time
dimension,
sink?
but it's time sink, right?
Oh, the creature. Oh, yes, definitely. I wish you could be here for it. The creature's ability to throw itself out of time sink. And I'm not quite sure exactly what this means. I know it fluctuates between matter and energy, but what about that and its ability to manipulate or gravity? It gives it the ability to throw it out of time sink. Is this
Which
some kind of
I think he's explaining that's how it's able to travel long distances in a short amount of time. Almost
is it
like
kind
time warp.
is it kind of like how a like an atom you can know where it is, but not how fast it's going, or how fast it's going, but not where it is.
Oh, that's possible.
That's the only thing I can think of that feels like this.
That's what we get for trying to ground it in reality.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Well, I always that's the part that's fun for me.
It
And
is. I agree.
if I lose that, then I'm I don't know. I'd probably not be here. There is therefore no basis for your self recrimination. So he's telling him the nature of this creature means that it is impossible for you to have stopped him, especially because the weapons, even if it wasn't out of sync, the weapons wouldn't work. The weapons we just saw right now, the photon torpedoes couldn't touch it. And Captain Garvik would still be dead. So this is Spock telling Kirk it wasn't your fault. It's
Right.
not
Don't feel
possible.
sorry for yourself.
Mhm. And he's trying to help. And then he tries to help in a similar way with Garvik, except he's just like, "You're human," and it's just a trait humans have. I'm gonna let's go over here. But the whole point of this scene is that the creature is coming through the vents, and Spock puts his hand on the gratings, which I guess made Scotty think, or Scotty R37 think that maybe this might be some kind of mind meld, but that is never verbalized in the script.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, that's an
I'm glad that
interesting
you show
point, though.
Spock covering his mouth because that would have made no sense.
Hmm. But of course, you think his life is in danger because it's been killing everybody else. And this is where we learn that his blood is made of copper and he is okay. And this is the reversal of the cloud that you guys were mentioning earlier, the cloud coming out of the vent and then the cloud going back in. That's
Yes.
cool. Oh, I should have got a few more frames of that to actually see it. That's what's happening.
all this technology we have these days, I wish we had a house that was designed like that. Like if somebody's smoking cigarettes, you can push a button and it sucks it all out.
Mm-hmm. I hear it was a lot healthier actually on airplanes when they had those filters that to take out all the cigarette smoke. But I
Probably
don't know
so.
about that. I don't really know about that. That just feels like nostalgia, but
Right. Unfortunately, you're not old enough to remember, so that's
no.
good.
And so this is where we know that the creature does not like copper blood. Yucky. So the episode also this part's funny to me because I just never realized when it's mentioned. I just knew it about Spock. I just knew about his blood.
Yes.
Let's see what else. And so this is the part of the episode that sticks in my memory more than any other part, is the part where Kirk reconciles with Garvik from having been assuaged from his guilt.
Yes.
He reflects that onto Garvik.
Right. He is
It's a really great.
vindicated.
Mm-hmm. He is. It's just that nothing works against this monster. Nothing does. Delaying and firing would have made no difference. No weapon known would have made any difference then or 11 years ago. And
So they both
fun
heal at
time.
that moment. Yes. No more regrets.
Exactly. And that'll help them get it together and actually solve this problem. So they're trying to chase this thing and figure out where it is. And they're going to planet. They're going to planet 4 of the system where Yorktown is waiting for rendezvous. Because that's the location of its attack on the USS Farragut 11 years ago. Very coincidental. But how does Kirk suddenly decide this and know this? This is the right thing to do.
Maybe it's almost like a salmon returning into his spawning grounds.
Oh, is that what the creature's doing?
I don't know. I'm just guessing it.
Well, that is a good guess because for some reason Kirk registers he can feel this creature somehow and thinks of home, the word home. And so that does sound like a salmon to me too. Especially since we were saying earlier that it wants to replicate.
Yes.
So that follows. That's very logical. Based on the lore, the limited lore we're getting for this cloud.
Right, with what we're given, right? Uh-huh.
Something in my mind said home. And I wonder if anybody else who encounters the cloud like this has this premonition for any of the creature at all.
You have a mental bond.
Hmm. Oh, the
Well, if it
rendezvous
would
with
have been
Yorktown.
TNG, would have been. If it would have been TNG, would have been Troy.
Exactly.
Using that line, right? Mm-hmm.
That's why I was wondering why Spock doesn't have any communication abilities with this apparently very telepathic being.
That's true.
But I guess that would take away from Captain Kirk, and Shatner's already had a bunch of trouble anyway.
Yes.
So it will reproduce by fission, not just into 2 parts, but thousands. Antimatter seems our only possibility, so an ounce of antimatter is what they're going to use to destroy this creature. It's the only way. Nuke it from orbit. That's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way to be sure. Sorry. of course, they say that the antimatter has the power, an explosion of a force of 10,000 cobalt.
Oops, be right back.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Please take care of that. 10,000 cobalt bombs. And so a cobalt bomb is a Star Trek talk for a type of nuclear weapon. But I don't know really how strong that is. I didn't look into that. So whatever that is, 10,000 times of those cobalt bombs is what you get from an ounce of antimatter explosion in the Star Trek universe, which is capable of ripping away half of the planet's atmosphere and may interfere with the transporter beam, but it's worth all of that because we've got to get rid of this cloud, or it will start hopping from planet to planet, sapping all of the inhabitants of their blood and reproducing to make more cloud creatures. Don't you want more? No. So we've got to
No,
stop
probably
it.
not.
Probably not. So that'll work. That's gonna work. Spoiler alert. And so we have a few chats I haven't read yet.
Cool.
Canadian Spider-Man says, I thought I was a nerd until I met people like Clobby and Jill. You are a nerd, Canadian Spider-Man. And geeks and nerds, if you want to know the difference. Because of Starfleet regulation on hair, the prime objective. And Princess Fiona says, I love being a nerd or a geek. Raquel has very specific definitions on those two terms. That is what I was going to mention. She has a very good grasp on those differences. But they have always been synonymous for me, says Princess Fiona. And Princess Fiona says, I think he is saying it's out of phase, like Kitty, Pryde, and Shadowcat from the X-Men. So Canadian Spider-Man says, so why didn't Spock always have a sweater handy if he's used to the warmer climate? Oh, that's a good point. Maybe he's just decided it's better if he adapts.
If he keeps himself busy and keeps moving around, he'll be okay.
Yeah, he doesn't ever seem cold.
Right? Maybe he has like a thermal underwear under those clothes.
Right? Yeah. Why not? And it's thin because it's the future. You don't need a heavy jacket. And do we want a 2000 treaty on often misunderstood Heisenberg uncertainty principle? Oh, you can share whatever you like. Because we're nerds, only geeks know the difference. There's often a crossover. A nerd can be a geek and vice versa. However, I'll always be a bookworm, so very different from both. And James Caserta says, I use books to kill bugs and prop doors open. And Princess Fiona says that she is a bookworm as well. I think any nerd / geek over the age of 20 has to be a bookworm because
I am a bookworm. I admit I'm guilty.
Mm-hmm. I used to be more of a bookworm than I am now. I need to get back,
got a family
back
and
into
kids and everything,
reading
so
and everything.
right.
Well, I think part of the problem is the internet has taken some of my reading consumption, and so reading the actual books has gone by a bit of the wayside.
Yeah, same here. Once I got addicted to YouTube, and yeah, less reading.
A lot of chat reading. Doing it now. James Caserta says, especially since nothing has happened in the last 20 years. And so we're on the planet with our antimatter explosion kit. And speaking of R.M. Briggs, talking about the difference between geeks and a nerd, the geek is more attuned to the pop culture references and able to quote things on the fly, and a nerd
So we're not talking about a
enjoys-
circus geek.
and yeah, right. Enjoys the academic pursuits, and many of us do straddle the line on both of those. Yes, there certainly can be crossover with bookworms and nerds and geeks. I, however, wasn't a nerd because I had a nonchalant attitude towards school. I also wasn't geeky. I just read a lot, says the AI show. And man, it was all about grades for me when I was a kid. What grade can I get? That's why I grade Star Trek episodes so highly a lot of the time. Because for me, a C is almost failing. Like it's like I do not feel good if I get a C.
You know, and I have to admit, I don't mind this. I don't mean to sound all high and mighty, but I also was nonchalant about school. I felt it was beneath me.
And that's okay too. Like when you have something that you think is more worth your time than school.
Yeah, because the rest of the class was always
sense.
trailing behind me, and I hated it. Every time we had a test, I would be done 15 or 20 minutes early.
Because when I was a
and the
kid,
teacher
they
would say,
had.
"Keep your head down." It's like I hated that.
Oh, no. Or you couldn't read a book?
Well, that's a good example. Yeah, we had books. I'd actually, on my own, have to go to the library and get books.
Exactly. And that's what I'm telling my son, because he's like, can I take my phone to school? And I'm like, no, go to the library.
like when the class was reading a book aloud and everybody would share a paragraph, I was the only one that could keep up the pace. Everybody was like, and then she said, go here.
Yeah, no.
Like, oh my God.
See, when I was a kid, that's why they had gifted and talented classes to help with that kind of issue.
Yeah, we were all just grouped into one, unfortunately.
Yeah, for kids who don't necessarily need to be skipping grades, but do want a little bit more of a challenge. So I had that benefit.
You're very fortunate. I would have been out much earlier if that was the case. I dropped out. I got tired of it. It was holding me back. In fact, when I was 16, I said, forget it. When I was 16, I said, I'm done. I'm just going to take the GED, and I did, and I passed it.
And yeah, I'm sure that was no problem for you.
No.
Mark Harkness says characters are a statement of the culture that writes them. In 1967, honesty, integrity, courage, respect, and loyalty, but not blind obedience, are values to aspire to. What do modern characters tell us? Well, wait, can't we just go back to this? This sounds great. Clobby makes me feel ignorant, and Raquel makes me feel dumb. You and me both, Princess Fiona, but you're smarter than I am, so that's crazy hearing it from you.
Hopefully that's not their intention.
No, that's not. It's just that they have Clobby has a breadth of knowledge from the pop culture point of view, and Raquel has a certain instinct for different kinds of ideas that are very fun. It's amazing to listen. Anyway, Princess Fiona continues, I love it. The smartest person in the room never learns anything. And yeah, exactly, because they're not really even listening.
Nope, I agree. Right. I used to just sit in the back of the classroom and just ignore it.
Darius Munchausen says, when I was 12, I estimated it would take a lump of antimatter about the size of a sedan to destroy the Earth. If in the core. I may never know how far off I was. And yeah, hopefully not, because that would be terrible if we could harness the power of antimatter, because that's exactly what it would be used for immediately.
Exactly, especially if it was destructive purposes, yes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that we wouldn't think about any constructive ways to use it to power the planet.
Travel.
Yeah,
Well, free energy we'll never see. As long as they can make money off energy, we'll never see free energy.
Outrageous.
Yep.
Well, I would imagine it would go off. It would veer off into. They'd figure out how to make money in some other ways, I'm sure. I don't know. Snortopoopas Cuber says Spock often retreats to his quarters and applies freshly heated Pop-Tarts to his epidermis. And Princess Fiona says in the future they don't need heavy jackets, but apparently we still need hard-edged lunchbox-looking backpacks and suitcases with awkward shapes that severely limit capacity.
Well, and Spock may have a little space heater too.
That would make sense. It's right underneath his console. And oh yeah, Spidey was the same. C felt like a failure too to him. It's like, what did I do wrong? But at B, I was happy. At A, I was proud. And the AI show says, fascinating. I'm more interested in Claudia and Raquel's visceral emotional reaction to Star Trek shows. Thus, I feel more logical to them in terms of the episodes. Interesting. You would need 1 point. Okay, so Darius Munchausen has done some math here. You would need 1.3 times 10 to the power of 15 kilograms of antimatter to completely destroy the Earth. A smaller amount could effectively destroy it. And much smaller amount could destroy all sentient life on it.
What are you waiting for?
Where did you... If the antimatter had the same density as water, you would need a cube about 10 kilometers on each side to destroy the world. Wow.
Wow, we've got some upset, twisted people here in the chat today.
And we have created antimatter with the Hadron Collider, but it's such minuscule amounts.
Minuscule, yeah.
Mean nothing. And fortunately, we can make very much with the particle accelerators. Princess Fiona says, I might be embellishing a bit. I do love listening to them, and Klobby has an amazing encyclopedic knowledge of comics. Yeah, he does. That's why I can still listen to him, even though I know nothing myself. And it's fun. I forgot to consider the density, says Darius. Oh, yeah. Gotta remember the density.
For shame.
James Caserta puts it in a different way. Klobby has a PhD in deep nerd shit. And Raquel SSG said, did someone say my name? Hello, Raquel. Raquel SSG. Yeah, we were talking about Raquel Briggs.
Hello, Raquel. Good to see you.
We were talking about a different Raquel, but you're also an amazing Raquel. So
yes, she is. Good to see you, Raquel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't had one of your late night streams lately. You got your owl streams. What's going on? Princess Fiona says, I'm more envious of Raquel Briggs' ability to speak extemporaneously. Yes, me too. Let's go ahead and get to where we're going to explode this thing. And so they encounter the cloud again. It's taking the bait and takes the blood corpuscle. So now the bait is gone. So somebody else needs to be the bait.
Yes. And of course, Jarvik decides to be the hero, and Kirk will have nothing of it.
Right. Luckily, Kirk does not pass out from this attack. Consider yourself on report. This is no time for heroics. I have no intention of sacrificing myself, at least not yet. And he wants Spock to scan them. And be ready with the transporter, obviously. And so they smell the honey again. And there's the antimatter explosive device. And now they need to be energized back to the ship and detonate to be sure to destroy the creature, but also get our heroes back on the ship.
Yes.
And the AI show says, I've never had to care about grades in high school. I knew I was going to graduate. The only time I actually studied was when I was a senior and had AP classes. Yeah, the college equivalence classes. For anyone who do not know what advanced placement classes are.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a whole lot more luck with the dual credit classes, where you could actually go to the actual college and actually take a college course to get the college credit, because the AP tests were actually way more difficult than any college class. Raquel SSG says, I'm assuming you're meaning Raquel Briggs. Yes. So they're having trouble with the transporter. As they mentioned earlier, that is the greatest part of this episode, is they explain the things that happened earlier.
Mm-hmm. So it justifies it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this makes a lot of sense. All my book club editions have uneven cuts in the pages. The sides aren't smooth. Yeah, I'm not that kind to my books either. Just don't tell Raquel Briggs.
I think you're talking about the publishing. Maybe the publishing is off. If all the books, if all the pages are crooked.
Oh, okay. Maybe it is the
But maybe it's
publishing.
like maybe it's a discount version or something.
Really, just what happens is I don't mean to hurt my books. It just happens.
Oh, okay.
Princess Fiona says it will take approximately 2.5 trillion tons of antimatter to destroy the Earth. Wow. For Kylone says M. Harkness on backup account here. Oh, Mark Harkness. A cobalt bomb is a radiation enhancement weapon, increasing the radioactive contamination from a nuclear blast. Storepoopus Cuber says it would be impossible to destroy all sentient life on Earth, as there is no sentient life on Earth, except the bears, dolphins, penguins, and hedgehogs. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Frankel Walker says, no, these are really nicely made hardback books and numbered. There are a few he missed in the series toward the mid. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I was talking about the publication of the book, so I was just outing myself as a book abuser. And Raquel SSG says, Jill, I'm currently on vacation. I'll be back next week. Oh, that's great.
All right. Enjoy yourself. Very cool.
Yeah, I hope you're having a fun time. Princess Fiona says, based on mass and gravity, the Earth has a binding energy of. Oh, hey! I liked it when Darius was giving me times 10 to the something power, because that's a lot of zeros. That's a lot easier to read it that way.
Yes.
That's how much antimatter it would take to disperse the energy. 2.5 trillion tons. Oh, okay. You tell me there, so that makes up for it. Princess Franco Walker says to Princess, they jump from 120 to 131 and then get sporadic up to 175. And Darius says, I took C programming at college via dual enrollment my senior year of high school. And Disney Sheepherder's here. I made it before the stream ended. Cookie for me.
Hello there.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a cookie. All the cookies. Chocolate chip with peanut butter. Unless you're allergic to peanut butter. Darius says, I got kicked out of advanced math for not doing my homework, but luckily I placed into calculus on the placement test at the University of Michigan.
Very cool.
Hey, well, there you go. Yeah, that's great. Oh, but the university sucks, though. Too bureaucratic. Sorry about that. I believe that. I decided not to take the AP tests as a senior, and I didn't know what they look like. I got a couple of 3s, but I wasn't quite as good at the AP tests as I was at just going to college straight up. A lot easier. Lots of zeros. Huge amounts of zeros. All the zeros. 42 zeros. Thank you, James Christopher County. All the zeros for me. And so crazy way to travel. Oh yeah, this isn't the first time McCoy, nor will it be the last time McCoy decries the insanity of transporter travel.
Yep.
Crazy way to travel, spreading a man's molecules all over the universe. And Princess Fiona says 2.24 times 10 to the 32. I wanted to make a point. Yeah, because, oh, right. And okay, that does make sense. If you put all those zeros, you really feel the magnitude of how big that number really is. Thank you.
That's true.
That is a good point. Canadian Spider-Man says there were 1,200 kids in my high school graduating class. It was nuts. Oh,
yeah,
I had half
that from California.
Yeah, I had half that amount. I was just happy to be in like the top 150. So, Stream Elements, are you a person or a bot? You know, I I think it's a bot. Stream
It
Elements
does seem to
bot
be getting a
is
little
bot.
smarter.
But I don't know how it's getting smarter. Like if somebody enters the chat, sometimes their link pops up alongside their entrance.
Perhaps timing, perhaps coincidence. You never know.
It could just be coincidence. I
Uh-huh.
can't know for sure without actually looking at the code myself. But I have put timers to make these links pop up, so maybe it's just that. But how it decides which links to post? And there we go. And so they make it back.
Just in time.
Captain. Thank heaven, says Scotty. And Spock says, Mr. Scott, there was no deity involved. It was my cross-circuiting to be that recovered them. Well then, thank pitchforks and pointed ears. As long as it works.
Yes.
And so now that the creature is dead, let's save some lives. We'll deliver your medicine. Have Mr. Chekhov lay a course for rendezvous with the Yorktown. So there we go. And so they leave us teasing us about some amazing stories with Captain Garovic that only Kirk is only going to tell his son.
Yes. Great ending.
And so for the first time, we get produced by John Meredith Lucas. Guest star Stephen Brooks as Ensign Garovic. Jerry Aries as Rizzo. I don't think I've seen this name before either. Edward Milkus, but I'm not sure. Music by Sol Kaplan. Director of photography, Jerry Finman. Yeah. Oh, was there a picture? No. There you have it.
Very cool. That was a fantastic episode. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Very, very well done. And I like the cross-circuiting with the transporter. That's the way to use the transporter.
That's right, just in the nick of time.
Sora Poopus says 2.24 times 10 to the third 2. That's how many powdered donuts I can eat for a snack. Wow, you have quite the appetite. For Clyone, I took one AP course in high school. The AP test was a 4, but the high school class I passed with 77 because the writing assignments bored me to tears.
Oh, no fun.
Oh. But yeah, you're pretty much a genius if you get 4s and 5s on your AP test.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed writing assignments.
Too. Princess Fiona says I do it for fun now. Princess Fiona says I entered college as a second sophomore based on AP credits. Oh, nice. It didn't help. I was still treated like a freshman.
Oh, no fair.
At least he didn't bypass the compressor. And the AI show says to James, yeah, I knew guys like that. Some guys I knew in college got degrees in spatial appreciation and advanced intoxication.
Very, very handy to have a degree in advanced intoxication.
I'm still studying myself. I think I've become better at it. I haven't blacked out in years, so that's success.
Oh, yes, that's definitely a good thing. Same here.
And so we got Scotty's review earlier, B+ to A- range. So what do you think about this episode, Pop Culture Curator?
I would give it an A. I love this episode. It takes the Moby Dick and kind of turns it on its ear. We got to see, aside from Uhura, we got to see a lot of the cast interact, a lot of screen time. I liked that they fleshed out Garovic's character. Even as a kid, it is one that stands out in my memory as one of the best. Action-packed. I know last week you guys were discussing B plots. I don't know if this necessarily had a B plot or not. but I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And it also further built the relationship between McCoy and Spock, which I really it shows their mutual respect for each other. As we know, which we established even later on, that they actually do care each other. They care for each other. They just poke fun at each other a lot. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad I was able to make it, Jill. Hopefully that was good. And I think
Well,
Jill
I
might
was
have.
saying,
There you
I
are.
was,
Okay, there you are.
no, I was saying that that's why they work so well together because of McCoy's heart and Spock's logic, and it just goes together so well. And they make jokes towards each other, but they really do respect one another.
Yes, right. They're always professional, which I like that. Yes.
Hmm. And Canadian Spider Man says, school is pretty much just indoctrination here now. I say that travel will teach you so much about everything.
No
Yeah.
arguing there. That's true.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more from your channel, Canadian Spider Man, about things you've learned while traveling. That sounds really interesting.
Right, everybody. If you have not checked out Canadian Spider-Man's channel, please do so. It's fascinating. The guy travels all over and he's got amazing videos.
Yeah, he does. And sometimes he'll also have a fireside chat, which I'm
Yep.
looking forward to. You never know when it's going to happen. What if we put two transporter beams on each of them? Nah, lad, that's just silly. Says For Klein. Mark Harkness. Franco Walker says, I hated school. I was dragged around the world and went to 12 schools over a 4-year period and was constantly bullied. Oh no, I'm sorry
Oh, that
about
sounds
that.
like my experience. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we moved constantly. That's another reason why I didn't like school. It was always a new experience, unfortunately, almost every year.
Mm.
And
There's
that's why
only
uh,
mm,
sorry to focus
mm,
on this, but that's also why they would just put me in general education because it would be like, well, let's see where he's at.
right.
You know,
Oh, okay.
right. And then towards the end of the year, they would be like, well, I guess he is maybe ahead of the other kids, but by then I'm on to the next school.
Oh no. See, that's not good for you either,
No, it
academically
isn't.
or socially.
No, public education, especially in California, is the worst.
Hmm. Yeah, I did hear about that, but I guess I enjoyed school a little bit more. The bullying for me kind of ended after middle school. Middle school, the girls are vicious, and then after that, they kind of. I guess I guess I just ignored the girls who were
Good.
who did that, and I just hung out with other people, and I had a much better time.
There you go.
I blacked out Memorial Day, says Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Princess Fiona says A plus. This episode contains all of the elements that made Star Trek so great. Even managed a bit of humor in a serious episode. The themes were not heavy-handed. Oh yeah, it
Nope.
is serious because of how many people die. There's quite a few deaths. But
Mm-hmm.
Princess Fiona continues.
Right. Time to stop at a next star base and pick up some more crew.
Hmm. She says, this would be a great episode to introduce someone to the show who's never seen it. Lots of subtext and character building, with a decent amount of action, demonstrates the beauty of the triumvirate. Agreed. And the AI show says, I can understand why someone would hate school with that experience. And so to Franco. Oh, and hey, look at that. It's William Shakespeare Spielberg.
Hello there.
That's great to see you. Also known as Max Headroom. Just popping in to drop a like. But gotta go. Have a great show, Jill. Anti-derivative Jill.
Take care.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye.
Yeah, I enjoy the fires. Says Disney Sheepherder to Spidey. He does a great job of letting you listen to his fires too. And when Canadian Spider-Man does his fireside chat, he needs us watching him. Oh, right. Yeah, well, he won't be doing that in the snow anymore. I think now he's a winter Mexican Canadian Spider-Man. His backyard is on fire. Canadian Spider-Man says still way too dry here to have bonfires. Maybe in another month.
Makes sense.
Oh, but you could still stream inside. That could be fun. Spock is on the mind. Doc is in the heart. And Kirk is the instinct that balances them. Yet all three have all of those aspects.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And she gives the episode an A+, Princess Fiona. Canadian Spider-Man says, "Yes, apparently I do need you supervising me, Darius Munchausen. Yes. Yes, we're here for you, Canadian Spider-Man, anytime you want to stream."
Absolutely.
James, well, unless I'm busy, but somebody will be here. James Cassura says Kirk is the spirit, McCoy is the body. And Franco Walker says, "When I was 12, I just stopped trying to make friends." Aw, really?
I can understand that.
That's the time where I had trouble too, but it picked up again for me in high school. I had better luck in high school. Darius says nobody really bullied me because while I was skinny, they thought I was a psycho, and they were afraid. Oh,
That's
wow.
it. Just look crazy, right? They did to me. They would push me until I would finally snap and go off on them.
Oh my goodness. You got physical abuse, not just mental. That's not good.
Even my sister learned how to fight because it was the same thing.
Okay. Goodness. The point of that. Princess Fiona says, "Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Body, mind, and soul." Very good. The Trinity. They are the best. Disney Sheepherder said, "WTF? Honestly, only 204 subscribers, Spidey? Come on, let's get that man some subs. It's a good and relaxing content,
Yeah.
and it's Spider-Man who plays a Canadian."
Absolutely.
Oh,
I agree,
and
everybody.
I'm coming up on the time where I have to go to pick up my daughter, so I better read my review. I haven't read mine. I give it an A as well, and this, and I'm not just saying this because of an overpowering aroma of honey is at the basis of this episode. But for me, this episode is actually like it's layered for me. It like a extra rich chocolate cake with chocolate frosting and chocolate sprinkles because
Ooh, yummy.
it's so layered with all of that sweetness that you want in the Star Trek episode. It is a mystery of what the cloud is, and that only Kirk has a very strong idea, but he wants his crew to figure it out in a very scientific way so that the information is spoon-fed, and it's not just based on how he feels. It's not just his feelings. It's intelligently based in a methodical way throughout the episode to keep you intrigued. And so I hardly notice the watch time on this particular episode because sometimes I'm watching these late at night when I'm already very sleepy, so I'm sensitive to how long the episode lasts. And I'm often checking the runtime. This time I only checked it twice deliberately. And so I've seen all of these episodes before, but I never really dove this deep into this one. And so, but before, this episode always stuck with me, not only because of the outlook into Kirk's past, but the parallel associated to him by the young ensign Garavik.
Yes.
Who they portray as like him in spirit and personality. And it's not very easy to come off like Captain Kirk. So Stephen Brooks did a good job of portraying someone who's different, but has a similar situation, similar background.
I agree. I can imagine Garrett being a good captain.
Me too. It'd be interesting to follow that career. And apparently, some fan fiction takes his I guess his brother, or it makes him a captain instead. Or maybe not brother, cousin. It would be his
Something
cousin.
like that. Yeah.
So as a character study, I'm gripped by all of it. But even the effects of the alien, I thought that was lovely and haunting to portray something that is between the states of matter and energy, because of course one feeds into the other. And I thought it was a super cool way to to portray it, to show it.
Well, yesterday we get a giant spider, and today we get this.
Mm-hmm. And the director, like I said earlier, he also directed Metamorphosis, which was another cloud creature. So
Right.
even the technical issue of how such a being could control gravity and use it to its advantage was a fun conceit of science fiction. And it made several people in the chat post a lot of very interesting things about physics.
Absolutely,
And
we were very lucky to have some smart people there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys have came up with some ideas I didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm. Very imaginative.
And of course, the trio, just like Pop said, and Scotty said earlier, I don't really have to say too much about it. McCoy and Spock confront the captain for his decisions, and it just shows how well they work together.
Yep.
And the only thing that bothers me is the unexplained later resurrection of Mr. Leslie, but I can't blame this episode for what happens later.
Right, off-screen resurrection, right?
Right, when what happens there? But apparently there was unfilmed but planned scene.
Maybe they took him back to the Shorely planet.
Yeah, why not? But I give it an A because this episode has nothing to do with that. It is very clear. Leslie was meant to die, but he was not meant to stay dead.
Yep.
Franco Walker says, I don't have a couch or floor space. I collect electronic equipment and it's sort of built up all over the house for the past 20 years. So I do have to go, but I will check out some of the chat as I make my way out.
Well, I'm glad you could come and visit us for a while.
Sort of Poopa says, I tried making friends, but fresh parts were hard to come by. Like Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein. Making monsters. Or making friends. Making friends instead of making monsters. Grilla's Random Thought says, we were allowed to whoop their ass. Oh, you were? Yeah, that's right. When I was a kid, you could crowd around and watch a fight happen, and it's like everything is just like whatever. Nowadays, the whole
they call the police and everything, right? Well, the thing is they don't even want to deal with the kids anymore, so they just straight up call the police.
Oh, the teachers. Yeah, right. That's what would happen. The fight would happen, and the teachers would stop the fight.
Yep. I know a teacher that got punched and chipped a tooth.
Raquel SSG says, uh-oh, don't want to be late. Yeah, no, I don't. But the AI show says C+. Basically, Monster of the Week episode, part of the generic function of many sci-fi shows have to promulgate, namely the threat or other. This is decently done, but nothing really special. Thank you, the AI show, for your thoughts on the matter. And yeah, that is a good point. And as long as you rate the man trap lower. I rate it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You can rate the man trap however you like. Darius Munchausen says, bullies were more afraid of me than I of them. I wish I could say I was like Batman, but they saw me as more of a Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's it.
Jeez, that's not good.
No, but effective.
Well, when you say that, it reminds me of how when I was a kid, I was quiet. I used to talk a lot, and then I got quiet. And when I got quiet, people used to say, you always have to watch out for the quiet ones. Very
right.
Specifically meaning me. And Scotty R37 says, don't forget to subscribe to Cinema Gulp. Yeah, don't forget that. And oh, hey, Spidey just got 2 more subs. Hooray.
Very cool.
Darius says, my internet friends understand me much better than my high school classmates did. I am there with you. I'm with you there.
Yes, I agree. I third that.
I've never met more understanding souls than on YouTube.
Kindred spirits.
Max Headroom GPT says, thanks for the reminder, y'all. Spidey gained 2 more subs now. I've been naughty, Max. Okay. Messing with the YouTube likes. Scotty R37 says, I think I have to reconnect the whole kit and caboodle. Oh, well. hey,
Ooh.
if that works, then that works. Hopefully.
Yep. Troubleshooting.
Mm-hmm.
101.
Well, connect one thing at a time until you find the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And Spidey says, I lost a lot of friends over the last 3 years. Oh, I'm so sorry, Spidey.
Yeah,
And my
that's not
online
good.
friends are becoming more important every day. I count on you and Anti-Derivative Jill among the best.
I understand that, and likewise, especially you guys helped me through a rough period.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really thank everybody for the support and what they've been doing and all the blessings. So thank you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Things could have turned out much worse, and probably would have.
Yes, they would have.
It's just I'm glad that something was figured out for that.
Yes, I'm much happier. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It was a team effort.
Definitely.
Franco Walker says, Scotty R37, Princess Fiona, put a link in the chat for the HDMI splitter. That would help. And I think she did. Oh yeah, put it in again in case in the case Scotty missed it earlier. Put in the link for that thing. Yes. And Disney Sheeper says I push others to subscribe to actual content creators. Okay, that's great. And Scotty thinks he needs an optical audio cable.
Oh, that's the Toslink I was talking about.
Oh yeah, okay.
Fiber optic, yeah.
I'm gonna skip the things that are not to do with the episode because I gotta go. Sadly, most are not into Trek, but I'm trying to get them to change their minds. Yeah, I tried to do that with my family, but it doesn't really work. Tyrone says, "Thanks for the show and the company while I work today. If I try to talk about Star Trek with my family, for some reason they start talking about Star Wars. But I guess at least they like something cool."
Yes.
Princess Fiona says, "You could always try going to the TV first and using the return channel." Please read Princess Fiona chat about that. Friends are important. Friends give and take. They put up with foibles so long as that there's respect.
True, absolutely true.
Friendships may flourish. I agree. Respect is very important. But I do need to head out, and so I shall. I will leave you with, thank you. I'll leave you with the preview for next week's episode. It's going to be the immunity syndrome.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you had a good time. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, and thank you to the chat. I appreciate everybody. If I missed out on reading anybody, I apologize for that. And I hope I read from at least one of everybody's comments that who decided to share their thoughts here today. And thank you for thinking about the Star Trek episode with us. And I think that this was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you were here with me. Thank you.
Likewise, it was my pleasure.
Thank you to Scotty R37, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Captain's log, stardate 4308.8.
The Intrepid, it just died. And the 400 Vulcans aboard, all dead.
The stars are gone.
According to the life monitors, we're dying. We're all dying.
I cannot say what it is, Captain, but I would say it has found us.
Grant me my own kind of dignity. How can I grant you what I don't understand?
Contact
In 6 seconds.
Spock, come in.
Come in.
Contact lost, sir.
Power levels are dead, sir. You may have just written our epitaph, Mr. Stone.